welcome. It is that time again, everybody, where we gather around the Goat Man and tell spooky stories. Hey, Harry, glad to see you here. Last night was crazy, guys. Pretty amazing show last night. If you missed it, you missed a good one. Tonight, I feel optimistic. I feel like we're gonna have another great stream and maybe get a whole bunch of people up here to talk about a whole bunch of things. Everybody interact with the stream. Hit the share button. Hit the likes. How was everybody's eclipse? Hello, hello.
Hey, what's up, sir?
Oh, not much. What are you doing?
Nothing. I was watching those videos that I sent you. I didn't see them until just right now.
Yeah, I didn't get to see him yet, unfortunately. Um,
Yeah, it was just some stuff. It looked like I don't know how to describe it. It looked like a dragon or something flying in the clouds by the eclipse.
oh gosh, I wish I
Yeah,
could
and
have seen it.
yeah,
Lucky
and
for me,
everybody's yeah, everyone's saying that CERN opened up a portal and released demons or something like that.
though. Of course they are.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because then the Christians in the comments are like, "Don't worry, it doesn't matter because God has this."
Oh Lord, yeah, of course, of course. Blame CERN. We don't do CERN slander here, guys. We like CERN. We're big proponents of CERN technology on this live stream. Um, but yeah, you guys want to laugh at God? I can't wait until the day of judgment. You can keep waiting, I guess. Oh Lord, yeah. Where's the mods? Let's
Oh,
get these people out of here. Um,
yeah, I
yeah.
was just
So
saying what happened.
yeah, they're looking to be offended. This is not the place for them, so it doesn't matter. But anyway, what did I talk about on my lives? I let people come up and talk. We do these every Sunday and Monday. Last night's show was phenomenal. We had how many people were on the panel last night? I think I was like maxed out, probably.
Yeah,
Um,
like six.
yeah, so we talk about paranormal stuff here. We talk about the supernatural. We talk about the unexplained. It's right there on the screen above Goat Man. Everybody tap the screen, send some likes, send some shares. Let's get some people in here. Uh, Guest box is open for anybody who wants to come up and share a story. Do not come up and talk about Judgment Day. But if you have a paranormal story, I mean, it came and went today, right? So, like, there's no point
Yeah,
talking. Anyway, um, yeah, so, oh, looks like, what does that say? I think somebody's got a ghost story in the comments. If you got a ghost story, come up and share it. If you got extraterrestrial, cryptid, Loch Ness monster. We had one of those. We had one of those types of stories. It was exciting for me because I always wanted one. Um, Maybe we'll get another. Who knows?
yeah. Sarah, give me one sec. I'll be right back. Okay.
Okay. Hey, cat mama. Yeah, that's right. You do have to have 200 followers at least to be able to come up and share your story. So if you have 200 followers and you are of the age of 18, you can feel free to hop in the box and come up. Hey, Tully. Hey, Druid. Hey, everybody. Um, you're 25. You're just a youngin'. 25. Oh, to be 25 again. Um, Recent encounters and you're still shook. Hey, Scissor Hands. Hey, Spooky. Hey, Holly. Yeah, so the eclipse, guys. Did anybody get abducted? Did anybody anybody get raptured? We had a guy in here a minute ago. He was getting pretty triggered. I don't know. He didn't get raptured today, so I don't know what he's mad about. But hop in the box if you got a spooky story. We want to hear your spookiest spooky story, the one that scared you the most, the one that you can't stop thinking about. It can be about ghosts, it could be about aliens, it could be about Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster, Dogman, the Frogman, any type of cryptid, or it could be a glitch in the Matrix. We do a few of those here from time to time. And also, oh, there went my earbud. Hang on, technical difficulties. There we go. Mark safe from the eclipse. It was pretty cool. Thank you for the heart. I appreciate that. It was pretty cool though. Last time it was at 2017. That one was pretty intense, and I didn't have a pair of the little glasses things that you're supposed to wear, the protective glasses. But I got to experience the other cool effects of the eclipse, just like where it gets really dark and the temperature drops and the animals kind of go quiet, and so that was cool. But yeah, this time I actually had glasses so I could see it, and it was pretty neat.
You should have just looked right at it, like Donald Trump.
Oh my God. I'm not gonna say it. I have already been bashing the rapture people. I am not gonna start on Trump. Let's just change the subject. Let's just talk about something else. Let's see. So how about you, Chris? Did you see the eclipse? Chris, are you with us? Uh-oh. Chris, can you hear me? Can any of you hear me? God, I hope my earbuds didn't die. They're on the brink of death. Okay, maybe it's just him. I think maybe it's just Chris. Okay.
Okay, I'm back.
Oh, okay. I didn't know you were gone. I was talking to you. I had no idea that you were gone.
Yeah, sorry.
All right, guys, tap the screen, get some people in here. The more tapping, the more people. And I noticed it's not Easter eggs anymore. We don't have Easter eggs. It's back to hearts. That's kind of sad.
Yeah. Is the background a different tone, or am I having a stroke?
No, it looks like it, doesn't it? It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like every single time that I start these lives, there's like a different. It's like, I don't know. It looks different every time. Sometimes
I
it's
like
like
it.
really grainy, and sometimes
Mm-hmm.
it's like discolored. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, it looks kind of smoky tonight.
Yeah, it's weird. Definitely weird. Um, no demons here, just Goat Man.
No biters just yet, sir?
Nope. So what did you guys do today? Did anybody have like kind of like a? Did you travel? Did you go anywhere for the eclipse? Because I know a lot of people like to travel to see it and stuff. Luckily, I didn't really have to travel because it kind of like it was you're able to see it where I live. Um,
So you had your little glasses?
yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's cool. I totally missed it. I was asleep.
Yeah, you guys, Chris slept through the eclipse. He totally
Yeah.
slept through the eclipse.
I stayed up all
I
night
told
watching
him,
The Office.
Yeah, well, I think it's like what 40 years there'll be another one, or like 20 years or something like that that's visible in North America. I mean,
Yeah.
there's like 100 eclipses a year or something like that.
Mm.
You just have to travel to different parts of the world to be able to see it. But
Yeah. Like I told you earlier,
uh,
I'm not gonna make it another 40 years.
I mean, are any of us at this point? I don't even know.
Yeah. I don't even think I'm gonna make it another year.
2044 is the next full eclipse. Why would you say that?
Who,
That's
me?
morbid. Yeah.
Oh, well, I don't
Is
know.
it all of the Olive Garden, that the
Yeah.
breadsticks and
It's all the
yeah,
McDonald's and stuff that I eat.
yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah. Every day I wake up, I'm like surprised. Like, oh, I woke up today. Those double quarter pounders haven't gotten me yet.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. You know what they call them?
Yeah.
Heart attack in a sack.
Yeah, I kind of regret it though. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, the thing about it is if you missed it today, you're better off just watching videos online. Honestly, like you're better off just watching the videos because lots of people capture like
Mm,
really cool videos of it and time lapse videos and videos that they shoot through like specialty lenses and stuff like that. And I think
yeah.
honestly, it's kind of a better view of it because it's kind of hard to see when it happens. But and it was cloudy here today too, so that was a little bit disappointing. Um,
I hope we get some stories tonight.
yeah, we need to get some people in here. Everybody tap the screen, send some hearts. What kind of stories are we manifesting tonight?
I don't know. I want to hear some spooky stuff.
Yeah, guys, we had one in here last week that was absolutely terrifying. I think it was last week, maybe it was the week before. No, it was last week. The lady that was
Hmm.
walking alongside the highway, and you know what? She was here last night in the box,
Yeah.
and it was so late, and
Mm.
I did not have time to get to her. There was like a couple of other people waiting too, and I just was like, damn, I wish these people would show up early so that so that from 11 to midnight we're not sitting here rambling about crazy stuff.
Yeah, we didn't get to her last night.
Yeah, maybe she'll come back in tonight.
Yeah, hopefully.
Was really clear in Michigan. That's good. That's good. Harry, did it pass? It passed over you, right? To where you could see. I mean, because I know like all of North America was supposed to be able to see it, but then as the date grew closer, they kind of were like, well, this place and that place won't get to see like complete totality. Um, yeah, yeah, that's what I was thinking. Well, that's cool. Pretty neat.
Yeah, I don't even know if I would have been able to see it. It was pretty cloudy today, actually.
Yeah, if it was pretty dense cloud coverage, no, you probably wouldn't have been able to. But I mean, we had dense cloud coverage where I live, but it was kind of on the move the whole time, so it was like coming and going. So it wasn't too bad. But
Yeah. Spooky, if you have a story, you can kick it off.
yep.
I'm ready tonight,
Anybody has
guys.
a Yeah, me too. Anybody has a story? Feel free. Hop in the box. Get up here.
Yeah. If you say you have a story and then you don't come up, we block people in here. Cat Mama will
No.
block you. Her words, not mine.
No, we don't, Spooky. We do not. Or do we? I don't know. I think we just nag at people, right? Like we kind of just sit here and nag at them until they somehow manage to come up with the followers to go. Because we're
Yeah.
like, come on, get followers right now.
I have my my secret weapon that usually works. My reverse psychology, where I'm like, I hope nobody comes up here. I hope nobody does join the guest box. It usually works, but I don't think it's gonna work tonight. Oh, thanks,
Uh,
Steve. Appreciate that.
yeah, definitely, guys. If you like horror stuff, especially follow Chris. Check out his videos. He's got all kinds of cool stuff. Cool, spooky stuff.
Yeah, I just post a bunch of stuff that I steal from horror conventions. That's pretty much my content.
Tully says, please don't come and tell us scary stories. Yes, ooh, we don't want to hear scary stories. We're too scared.
Yeah, nobody joined the box. Me and Sarah are just gonna do improv the whole time.
Yep. We're going to sing and dance. All right, we got spooky.
What's up, Spooky?
What's up?
Hi.
Hey.
So I have scary stories for days. I just didn't want to be up here again. The first one after I was up yesterday, I didn't want to be like overzealous.
No, tell all the stories you want to tell.
Okay, so this one might not be like as scary for everybody else, but like I'm not afraid of much. But what I am afraid of, and I mean like a bone chilling, can't control myself, will run an instant fear, is anything crocodiles, alligators, caiman, anything. I don't know why. I've never had a trauma. I've never experienced one, like face to face. But well, besides zoos, but that's different. I don't know what it is. Ever since I was a child, okay. And so I grew up on the river, and a lot of the times I would go into the river and catch like crawdads and tadpoles, and I would usually sell them to fishermen as bait. So I was down there all the time, and I told I don't remember who it was. I was afraid of alligators. And then after that, my cousins forced me to watch Lake Placid and completely destroyed me. And I kept asking my dad, like, there's no alligators in there, right? There's no alligators in the river. There's none. And he's like, oh, no, absolutely not. There's no way. They can't live there. There's not enough food. All these like scientific, real reasons that should make you feel better. And then I started doing research on it. And this is back when it was just the library, when you don't have a computer to go and give you all the answers. And so the library said, no, it's not possible for alligators to live in Indiana because it's too cold, blah, blah, blah. But they said alligators, when they go underwater, there's like this ripple in the water where they sit. And it's like the current goes over them. And I swore on everything, ever since I was a child, a little itty bitty thing, I've seen them everywhere. These weird ripples in the water. And everybody gave me explanations for it. It's a downed tree, da 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 da. And this has just been like this urban legend thing that I've scared myself with for years, until I was 25. And on the news, they were pulling alligators out of the river that I was playing in as a child. People were flushing them, and then other people were letting them go, and they were ending up in the river where I was barefoot and playing my entire childhood, and they had been there for years.
Holy cow. So, were people like getting exotic pets then? Because you
Yeah.
said they're like flush. Yeah, I've heard of that happening. That's terribly unfortunate for the animal, but it's also like dangerous for the people and stuff.
Yeah,
Wow.
that one wasn't spooky. I just wanted everybody to also know my fear, my horror, because that is real life horror, to know that I was right as a child.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But this one, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of. Have you heard of red door, yellow door?
I don't think so.
No.
Okay, so red door, yellow door. This is my friend's story, and he gave me permission to tell it. But it is super true, super scary. So red door, yellow door is this weird hypnotism game Like, I don't know if you were ever a kid and you and your friends played light as a feather, stiff as a board. It's like that, but it's way scarier because, so I'll tell you how to do it instead. So there's a person who sits and a person who sits in that person's lap. And they put their arms in the air, and the person that's directing this rubs that person's temples and tries to put them in a hypnotic state by chanting red door, yellow door, any other colored door. The person who's laying down, being hypnotized, is to imagine a door. And so as they go on, this person becomes hypnotized and they're going into their subconscious. But there are rules, like if you go into a room and there's a room full of clocks, then you have to leave because you'll get trapped there forever. If you're going through this door and you see a man, a black shadowy man, you have to leave. You have to wake that person up because if not, they'll die. So he is playing with his girlfriend, and she wants to go under. And so he's chanting red door, yellow door, any other color door. She starts going through all these rooms. She's describing this like it's like a school, and then another one's like a room full of stairs. And he doesn't remember the rule that if you come to a place with stairs, you go upstairs, you never go downstairs. And the girl goes downstairs. And after that, it just snowballs. He says it gets worse because now all the rooms are scary. All the rooms are cold. She keeps saying she's cold. And all of a sudden, she just stops talking. And she goes rigid. He starts thinking that she's having a seizure. And he tries to wake her up. And she starts screaming. And she's screaming about the shadowy guy. And I think he couldn't wake her up for like an hour, and he almost called 911. Dang, that one wasn't as scary as I thought it was. It was scary to me. But he says ever since that she woke up from that, she hasn't been the same, and she has like really bad anxiety and really bad night terrors. And I really wanted to play that game before I heard that story, but now it scares the living crap out of me. If you look it up and watch people do it on TikTok, it's actually super scary to watch them do it.
Yeah, after you started talking about it a little bit, I was like, oh, I have heard of this, but I've never tried it or anything. But I've probably heard of it here on TikTok, I guess.
Yeah, I don't really do anything that's hypnotic or anything where I don't feel like I'm in control. That's a little too scary for me.
Yeah, definitely. I've tried to dabble in stuff like that, and it really is. It's intimidating.
So this is a me story, and it's not like super scary, but I don't know if do near-death experiences count as scary stories? Oh, can you hear me? It says okay, good. So I have a near-death experience that was kind of scary. I feel like my stories are sucking tonight.
Oh no, you're fine. You're doing great.
Yeah, you're doing great. We're just listening.
Okay, so this one was so I was having a C-section this day at like say 7. I don't remember what the day was, like the night time was really, but I was in a really bad, horrible relationship. My ex-husband was cheating all the time, and he had just left to go cheat on me hours before I was going to have this baby. So I was super bitter. And so we go, and this is not my first C-section, so I'm pretty used to it. I'm not scared. I'm just going through it. I'm violently angry. And so as they're doing it, I keep telling them that I can feel it. They never get pain medicine right for me. So I'm telling them, like, I can feel this. My doctor's like, no, you can't. But when the C-section gets to the part where they pull my daughter out of me, I can feel her shoulders come out. And this puts me in shock from the amount of pain I'm in. And I start to bleed out. They're like pushing my ex-husband out of the room. He's throwing a fit. It's typical. He's like, that's my wife. And of course I'm dying. And I'm like, was I your wife 3 hours ago? And I go out. I feel like I go to sleep. But when I go to sleep, I open my eyes and I can smell something burning, like cherry wood. And it's not like a scary smell, it's like a sweet, hot smell. And I can feel dirt on my face. And it's warm where I'm at, but not uncomfortably so. And I look around, I'm in a mud hut, like a dome hut. And there's a fire going in the middle of the hut. And I can hear someone talking behind me. And I can't understand what they're saying. It's like a language I've never heard of. And this voice is neither male or female that I can hear. It's just everything and nothing at once. Like, it's deep, but it's high pitched, and it's saying things. I have no idea what it's saying. But as I lay there in the dirt and listen, I slowly am able to understand what it's saying to me. And finally, it says, like what I feel like is in plain English, but maybe not. It says, you can stay and understand, or you can go. And I thought about it, and I said, I want my baby. And when I said that, I opened my eyes, and there was a sheet over my face. And I pull it down, and I look, and there's this nurse holding my baby, and she screams bloody murder. And I'm like, can I have my baby? And she's like, yeah, I'm gonna go get the doctor, okay? And then I'll give you your baby. And she runs out and she comes back. This doctor had been my doctor for years. She has been crying. I could see it on her face. And she's like, you were gone. You were gone. There was nothing we could do. I don't understand. And I didn't understand what she was talking about. I just wanted him to hand me my kid. But I guess being unalive and everything, they were afraid to hand her to me at first. And it was just, I don't know, it's always been something that I've held on to because it's not anything like what I've heard death is. I wasn't scared, and it wasn't like heaven or hell to me. I've always been like really curious on who was talking to me and what they were saying.
Yeah, gosh, that part where you said that the sheet was pulled up over you, it was like chills. I got chills all over when you said that. That's holy cow, that's intense.
Yeah, and I was like, I was so messed up from, like, I guess the medicine and everything I went through. My brain was just like, I am not that cold. Like, I don't know. I just thought that was kind of silly of me.
That's
It was one of my favorite experiences. I think not, like dying, but just having. Yes, I think it was kind of like cedarwood or a sweat house. I've never understood like the if not that I don't understand. It's just it's never been explained to me like the spiritual significance of it. Like, I know some tribes used it for some things. I've never known what.
yeah, that's actually a very unique NDE from uh, some of them that I've heard. Because we've had people come on before and talk about NDEs, and I've seen them like on TV and stuff like that. I've never had one, but yeah, that's wow. I don't know how I would feel about that if it were me. That's intense.
Yeah, I have my great grandmother's 100% Blackfoot Indian. Yeah, I know. I wish Lodge Tales was here because that's what I was waiting for. Really, is for him to come on before I started talking because I wanted to ask him about it.
Yeah, Lodge usually comes in around midnight. Everybody comes in like at midnight or after, and then it gets crazy in here. It's like this every single stream. I think from like 11 to 12. It's like, oh, nobody's going to show up, and then after 12, it's wild. But Lodge will probably pop in at some point soon. So, like, if you're in the comments or whatever and he comes up, I can bring you up too if you want to talk to him.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. Um, Well, we appreciate you so much coming up here and sharing that with us. Is there anything else you want to talk about? Any other stories?
Um, well, I've got thousands of ghost stories, but if someone else wanted to come up and talk, I can wait, maybe come back later if there's a lull.
Okay. Yeah, it's up to you. If you, yeah, you can drop down and then come back later or whatever.
Sure, I'll talk later.
Alrighty. Sounds good. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Tap the screen, everybody. Let's get some people in here. It might just be a slow night. Maybe everybody's tired from all of the eclipse excitement today. Everybody's been staring straight into the sun. And I just wanted to say, I see Johnny in the comments, and Johnny, I'm so glad you're here. And if you want to come up and hang out on the panel up here, please feel free. And I know Johnny has a lot of good stories too. Not to like put you on the spot or anything, but if you want to come up, definitely consider it. Hello, welcome.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I've been curious. Now, is this just like? Oh boy. Okay, so something I've noticed throughout my years growing up until now, I've been having a lot of demonic angels kind of dreams, and in my dreams, I'm always battling them. I'm always battling the demons. There's either an angel that's helping me, or a woman who's like an angel helping me, or a couple, or whatever it is. And I've never understood why. I try to get close to churches and things. I try to stay as positive as I can, but these dreams don't go away. I've tried to sometimes even figure out what my dreams are telling me, and it's always there. Whenever I'm home, when it's dark, I always tend to have a light on because I always sense something. I always sense something there. And I'm 44 years old, and I shouldn't feel like I should be scared and things like that, but it's just something that I haven't been able to overcome, or I just don't understand anything like this. I've experienced things. I've seen things. I've seen things move. I have a recording of one thing that, because I have cameras in my house, and I saw something move, and I'm like, no, it's not true. I don't think I did. And because of my recordings, I was able to record it, and it just, I just don't, I don't know what I should do. If I should, people say, don't feed into it, pretend it's not there, and it'll leave you alone. Some people say, talk to it. It could be evil. It could not be evil. And and when I saw this up here, I thought, you know what, maybe somebody here might know, maybe somebody here has experienced these things and overcame it. I normally don't go and talk to people. I don't tell anybody things. I always keep it. But I'm to the point where I do sense that there's something there, and it's always been there. Wherever I move, wherever I go. And the only time I feel safe and I feel fine is when I'm constantly listening to Christian music, or just any type of music that's positive, and I have lights on. I always have to have some type of lights on at home. I just don't know if I'm doing something wrong, or so I didn't know who to talk to, and I figured I saw this right now. I might as well just let you guys know.
Yeah, so we kind of just do like stories here. I don't necessarily ever give paranormal advice, but I have been a
Oh,
ghost hunter for a really long time. I've done a lot of paranormal investigations. I've dabbled in the occult for years. I have a pretty decent knowledge of stuff like this. But at the same time, I am not a religious person. I'm actually an atheist. We do have some people in the comments, though, like Druid. Druid is very knowledgeable about stuff like this. We have a lot of regulars that come here that probably, I don't know, is there anybody in the comments that would want to come up and talk to the guest about this? Because in my experience, whoever told you, like, don't pay attention to it because that makes it worse. That, in my experience, is kind of like what I would go with, just personally. But yeah, Druid said maybe he could come up and talk. Okay, here we go. Druid is very, very intelligent when it comes to this stuff and knows a lot, so I'll let him take over.
Salutations. Hello. Okay, so first and foremost, as you know by my name, I am most certainly not Christian myself, though it was something I was raised in. I have, however, read a bit into things in regards to like angels and whatnot, because it's kind of like a side interest, much like with Norse mythology. When it comes to dreams, however, that's a tough one, because were you raised in a spiritual household?
So growing up, I was raised Catholic. But
Okay.
the strange thing is, growing up, being in Catholic, I never experienced these things. And then as I got older, I got into relationships and etc. And I remember getting into a relationship where she was in a certain religion that was different. It was just Christianity, and as I started to go into the church, I noticed I was having these dreams. And then after a while, for years, it went away. Now, what really scared me for a few years is I got married, and we started off with just really bad marriage, like always arguing, always fighting. And I would fall asleep and I would have these really demonic dreams that would scare me, and I could sense trying to wake up. I could feel that I was shaking, and like almost like I was on top of myself, telling me like, dude, you got to wake up, man. You got to get out of this dream.
Right.
And then as soon as I'd wake up, I would look over to my wife, and she would just be sitting there just staring at me. And I'd be like, why didn't you wake me up? And she was like, I don't know. And so for 3-4 years, every time I'd have those kind of dreams, I would wake up and she'd be there just staring at me like, and it got me a little scared. And we're still married, but for the last 2 years, I sleep in a separate room. I don't tell her why. I don't tell her that maybe I feel sometimes I'm scared from her. She's always so negative, so like, I don't know. She likes to sleep in the dark. She's just so different than I am. And
So a few things come to mind.
sure.
One is, from a logical standpoint, it could be psychosomatic, and your subconscious basically feeding on personal fears, and therefore it's manifesting in the form of something that you're familiar with. In the case of, angels and demons, being raised as a Catholic. On the other hand, it could possibly be something to do with your environment. It sounds like maybe she's done something that she has something attached to her. Like, more often than not, I'm going to go with the more logical explanation, but it's always good to have a secondary idea of what it could possibly be, just in case, because, not everything is going to be explained through logic and through science.
Fearful of me?
Okay, since you were raised Catholic,
What about me?
you still consider yourself a spiritual person, correct?
Fucking nasty motherfucker.
Wow.
No, wow! It's my fucking house!
Oh.
Let's bring up the next guest. Druid, we love you. We appreciate you coming up here and
Yeah.
helping us out.
Not a problem. I tried.
If you want to hang out, you're fine to hang out too.
Yeah, I'm fine if you're fine with it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime you want. I'm sorry to that guy. I hope everything gets better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm speechless. Hello, welcome.
Hi,
Hello.
how are you?
I'm hanging in there. How about you?
I'm good. I'm still learning TikTok. So I just wanted to let you guys know I'm not trying to bring drama into it, but the man that was just talking to you, that's my best friend's husband, whatever you want to call him. None of that stuff is true about her. She's the sweetest of the sweethearts, and she's on TikTok with me. I'm not going to get into their personal life because it's not my business to share, nor do you guys want to hear it. I'm just letting you guys know from, like, I'm near tears right now for her because she is the sweetest of sweethearts, and none of what he's telling you is true. And I don't want you guys to think badly. Her name is Crisp Dunn on TikTok. If you guys want to go follow her, like, and I'm not trying to bring drama into your life. I hate it when people do this, but I just wanted the truth to be known to you that she's a really good person.
Yeah, somebody in the comments was like, "Don't dox her." Definitely, we don't want to do that. And I just want to say, this is a completely judgment-free zone. We talk about, wild, crazy stuff here. We talk about the paranormal. I just hope everybody's safe and everybody is, okay. But thank you for coming up and speaking for your friend, and I hope that she's okay and safe. And
everyone is completely 100% safe. Everyone is fine. I would be the first to call the cops if I didn't think so. But I just wanted to come and at least she would do the same thing for me. So thank you so much for listening to me. Thank you for taking the time. I appreciate all of you guys. And that was her in the background. But he knows how to play the victim card. So I guess that's all I can say. Everyone can think their own judgments, but it's
no judgment here. It's none of our business, so it's all good. But, thank you for coming up and letting us know about that.
All right, thank you so much. You guys have a wonderful night.
Thanks, you too.
Okay, bye.
Hello, free thinker. Cody, I just realized he's giving me roses.
Man, oh man, this just became a different kind of show, y'all. Wow. Whew. Okay. All right.
We're doing the Maury Povich show tonight.
Hello, welcome. Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, y'all.
You got a spooky story for us?
So I have a few. I'll tell one. The other one is semi TW warning, so I will let you, the host, and your panel decide if you want me to continue with the second one. If not, then I respect that completely. So I don't want to say that like I am a full-fledged believer or anything. I'm also not a disbeliever. I'm just kind of existing. But when I was 17, I was in Job Corps, and there was a girl there that was reading tarot, and we were in the middle of the student union, and she read mine, and then we were suddenly completely surrounded by ants. And they were only surrounding our table, and no one could explain where they came from, how they got there. There was no line from a door, a window. We were in the middle. For those of you that don't know what a student union is, it's like a cafeteria with like TVs and couches and all that. We were in the middle of this building and they were only surrounding our table. And that was my first, like, oh, okay, there might be people who walk this earth who have ties to, you know, other other worlds, so to speak, if that makes sense. Um, yeah, that was definitely interesting to me. I'm not really into horror. I don't do horror. But I am interested in, at the very least, learning about paranormal stuff. Um, so yeah, that was my non-triggering story, I guess.
So you said the other one though is a little bit
It's
maybe.
not. I mean, again, I don't want to. I don't. And I'm the last person to tell somebody what triggers them, so I don't want to do that. Um, uh,
Yeah.
it has to do with
Well,
someone passing away
oh yeah,
or
we
being
talk about
unalived.
that. We talk about that. Pretty openly here. Just how
Okay.
TikTok is. You got to use code words and not say certain
Oh yeah, I
things
know. I know.
because
Yeah. I'm very big on like not uh taking over spaces and not saying, hey, this might trigger you, if that makes sense.
yeah.
So yeah, so that would happen for years actually. I had a reoccurring dream from like, I don't know when it started, but I was very young, and it went until I was about 8, where there was a crib in a room with a dark, it was dark, and a figure walked into the room and picked up a crying baby, and then you can fill in the rest with your minds. TikTok. I had that dream for years. And then on the day of my adoption, where I had grown up thinking I was the oldest child, I found out that our biological father had unalived my older brother when my mother was pregnant with me. So I saw into the past, I guess, because after I was told that, the dream stopped, like completely. Um, yeah, it was, it was, there was a few more details, but again, I'm not going to go into details, not just because of TikTok, but because I don't want to like super trigger anyone. I don't know who's watching on the outside, and but yeah, those are two of my main paranormal. I guess would that be considered paranormal?
Yeah, it sounds like it. It sounds like somebody somewhere was wanting you to know about something that happened to me. I mean, that's how I interpret it. So yeah, definitely
Premonitions.
paranormal.
Yeah, yeah. I think that was Druid that said that. Um, yeah, I just wasn't. Like I said, I just wasn't sure. But I've never come across a live like this where somebody's asking about paranormal stories, and so I thought it was interesting. Um,
Yeah, I
but
mean
there are people
original.
in your comments. So I don't want to hold up your box, but I will stay in the comments for a bit if that's okay. And I thank you
Yeah,
so much
absolutely.
for having me.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. We appreciate you. Thank you. I'll drop you. I'm a little bit scatterbrained now, guys. um, that whole situation a few minutes ago, I'm a little bit scatterbrained. I'm still kind of back there, but yeah, that's an interesting story. That one we just had, very interesting.
Yeah.
Uh, Hello, welcome.
Hello there.
You got a spooky
Okay,
story for
so
us?
yeah, and I swear to you, I'm not making this up. I've told this story to a lot of people, and they've all thought that I was nuts for telling the story. So hopefully you guys don't think I'm crazy either. So I'm back in high school. I think it was around my freshman year, or I would think I was around the 8th grade. I can't remember exactly. I'm in my lunch period. I'm just chilling, looking around. Then the whole room, the whole lunchroom starts to fill up. One moment, I look to my right, I see nothing. I see nobody in the line. Next thing I know, I go and turn my head to the left to see the back entrance. First thing I see is a what looks like a student in old school uniform. And this what's crazy about it, this student did not have any color, none at all. It was like watching a black and white movie. That's how she looked. Her hair was her hair was covering her face, and she was wearing an old school uniform. Next thing I know, somebody walks past me, right in front of me, and then that woman disappears in thin air. Into thin air. I wish I could be lying about this. Next thing I know, I go home, I tell my parents this. Of course they don't believe me because, hey, I'm a kid. Of course I'm gonna have like an active imagination. But then I decide to go ahead and take a nap, right? And so I go to take a nap. Next thing I know, something tells me to look out the window. I look out the window, and right by the dumpster, I see what looks like a shining red cloak, like flapping in the wind, right in the shadow of the dumpster. Then it just moves slowly the into the shadow of the dumpster. And then I go outside, I go to show them, and then next thing I know, I check, there was nothing there. There was nothing there. I literally thought I was losing my mind for a quick moment. But then one day, strange shit starts happening in my house. I start hearing like what sounds like somebody calling my name. I go over to check on my parents, ask them, "Hey, did you guys call me?" I shit you not. They say to me, no, we didn't call you." When they said that they didn't call me, I swear to you, my heart stopped. I kid you not, my heart stopped. It was like my soul left my body when I heard that. My soul, I think, literally left my body when they said that, "No, we didn't call you." And I went back to my room, and I'm like, I closed my door. Next thing I know, I hear a knock. For example, just like that, 3 knocks. And then I say, "Come in." Said, "Come in." For the love of God, I said, "Come in." I opened the door. There's nobody there. I shit you not. I was literally scared to death. And this was before I became what I would consider myself as a supernatural hunter. So I study hunting tactics for hunting demons. And in doing so, I decided that no one and nothing would ever come between me and my family ever again. And to this day, I still cannot believe that actually happened to me. I shit you not. I cannot tell you how many times I wish that never happened. I would want to go to a parallel universe just to escape the fact that happened to me. Hell, I wouldn't care if I entered the astral plane.
Did you continue to have paranormal experiences, or was this just kind of isolated, like an isolated incident?
Honestly, I honestly would consider it paranormal because honestly, with what I've seen and all the stuff I've seen in my past, like there was even one time where I was at an appointment with my father, right? Next thing I know, I'm walking alone. I look slightly I look slightly behind me. I could have sworn I saw something crawling on all fours. It didn't even look like an animal. It looked more like a person. I jump out of fear, and then I turn around completely to see if that was actually there. I'm pretty sure that it looked exactly like that, like that thing in the background right there. I could have sworn it looked something like that.
Yeah, a lot of people like the goat man. They say they've seen him before. We get tons of people in here who've seen him, something similar.
Well, I don't know if it was the goat man because this thing was crawling on all fours.
Yeah.
And it looked more like a human spider, something like that. But only 2 legs and 2 arms. You know, like how the Grudge would look like if she was walking on all fours?
Yeah.
Just like that.
Well, it's pretty
I'm
wild.
telling you. Yeah, I'll say wild. I'll say wild. Honestly, I tell people this stuff and they would think, yeah, buddy, I think that was all just your imagination. Honestly, I don't think that was real at all. And let me tell you, when they tell me that it was all my imagination, it wasn't real, I am telling you right now. Sometimes I want to punch them in the fucking mouth for that. Like, boy, you don't know. Like, boy, you don't know me. You don't know what I've seen. How can you tell me that it was my imagination? How can you tell me that it was all just in my head? No. That's where I draw the line. You don't call me crazy just because you don't believe what I saw. Seeing is believing. And I don't care if you've never seen it, but I have, okay? I know I'm not crazy. I know I'm not insane. But no! It was all in your head. It was
We really
all just your
appreciate you.
imagination.
We appreciate
Well,
you coming
thank
up.
you.
Thanks for sharing your story. Oh God, we're gonna get banana tonight, guys. It's gonna happen. It's it's inevitable.
Fingers crossed it doesn't.
Yeah. Are you guys entertained though? You guys having fun?
Are you not entertained?
Hi, everybody.
Hey,
Hey,
Cat
Cat
Mama.
Mama.
Hello.
So we all survived the eclipse tonight, but like I said last night, remember when I said that it's like a shift in the energy? Is this happening tonight? Because this live stream tonight, man, oy vey, like everyone listen real quick. Please watch with the cursing. We don't want Sarah to get striked. Like and also I'm gonna be checking people's things to see their followers. So if like they don't have enough followers and I say, hey, go follow that person, there's like 150 of us, I'm gonna try and get people up to 200 so we can get some stories in here. And other than that, I'm just gonna stay on the panel for a bit. And please share your stories if you have one. Thanks.
Thank you, Cat Mama. We appreciate you. All right, everybody, tap the screen, send some hearts. More hearts means more people, means more stories. At this point, it could be any kind of story. Who knows? Who knows what we're gonna get next?
With the fact that it has so much to do with the moon, one thing that we also need to remember is that the word lunatic came from lunar. Something to bear in mind. I do, for an actual like mundane profession, I'm an in-home caregiver, so I've been through clinicals and whatnot, and that's actually something that when I was doing my training, back in the day, they brought up is the fact that especially if you're working in a nursing home, you can tell that the energy is different around the full moon with how people act and how they react to certain situations. It's quite interesting.
Correct, because I work in a hospital, and I can always tell when it's a full moon because my patients will be going crazy. We call a lot of codes. Like you just know it's like I said, it's like a change in the energy. Like we'll get a lot of traumas. Like you are absolutely correct.
Yeah, there's some trivia for you guys. Also, the moon is made out of cheese. Don't know if you guys know that. Wallace and Gromit.
It is cheese.
Cheese is Gouda.
Hello and welcome.
Hi, guys.
You got a spooky story?
Oh, let me see if I can turn this up. You guys can hear me, right?
We sure can.
Okay. Well, my story is living in New England, and as a small girl, my parents bought a great big old farmhouse up in the mountains, like way up in the mountains. It was a Victorian home, and we had a lot of things happen there that we couldn't explain. My mother, as when we got older, she told us that when we went to school, she would be laying in bed after she got all the housework done and all the cooking done and everything, and she could hear people talking upstairs. She would hear people walking down over the stairs, and sometimes they'd go off to her room, off to the right, and go into her room because it was like a big circle. You could, when you came down over the stairs, there was a door at the very end of the stairs and like a little tiny split of a hallway. And because there used to be at one time on this Victorian home, there used to be a great big huge wraparound porch, but when my parents got it, that was no longer there. This home was so old that it had double walls. It had double walls in it. And when we moved in, I can remember my mom, there was still like an old frame bed in her bedroom with a feather mattress on it, and underneath it was old crates of medicine bottles. And upstairs in my brother's closet, he had like a room that had like a slanted ceiling in it, and in his closet, his closet was also had a slant to it. Well, me and my cousin was exploring, and we went in his tiny little closet, and we noticed that in the back we could take and get in between the walls. And we started crawling in between the walls, and we were finding all kinds of weird stuff. And we found an old bean can, and we found a couple bottles, old medicine bottles, and we found an old Victorian Ouija board. And there was even some old picture of a gentleman in a top hat in my brother's room, in one of those great big huge bubbled out like Victorian pictures. And he was in a top hat, and there's a little boy leaning up against his knee in the picture. But anyway, she used to take and hear all kinds of things. And one day, me and my cousin, we were doing something that we had gotten punished for. And we got sent upstairs into this old home. And upstairs, it was huge. It used to be all wide open with great big beams. Now, this house was so old that the beams in this house were like the beams that you'd see in a massive ship. And they were put together with wooden pegs. And but anyways, we got sent up there, and we were talking, and she was sitting at the end of her bed, and I was sitting at the end of my bed, and we had an old yellow tomcat that we named Sam, and he was up there, and he was sitting on her bed with her, and we were talking back and forth and cutting up and kind of giggling about what we did and why we got punished for it. And then all of a sudden, her bed, the end of her bed where she was sitting with our cat, lifted up into the air. I mean, it lifted up into the air, and it moved. Ooh, what was that? Something just banged in my room. Something just banged in my room and scared the shit out of me.
God, I heard that. I heard that.
I don't know. I'm laying here in the dark.
Is it a ghost?
I don't even know what that was. But so anyways, the bed lifted up in the air, the end of it, and it moved in like a half moon circle and then just dropped on the floor. And this is an old cast iron bed, and they're heavy. And my mother was downstairs in the kitchen and she could hear it. And I took and got up. My cousin was froze. I mean, she was literally froze on that bed. She couldn't move. Even the cat didn't. Even the cat didn't move at all. And I'm thinking in my head, did I just see what I just did? Should I run downstairs? Am I going to get punished even more because I'm coming out of my punishment? But I booked it down over those stairs, and I'm telling you, I went to take and hit. I was probably about, I want to say maybe 3 stairs down from running down over the stairs, and then I got pushed. And I went flying down over the stairs, and it freaked me out. I started crying. My mother comes running in from around the kitchen, from into the living room, into the entryway of where the stairs are. And she goes, "What in the world is going on? What is happening up there?" And I'm like, I'm out of breath. I'm scared to death. And all I can do is just keep pointing up to the bedroom going, up, and I'm just dumbfounded at what just happened and what I just seen. And finally, when I was able to breathe, I mean, I'm all banged up from falling down over the stairs, being pushed. My mother looks at my back. There's a handprint on my back, like a full man's handprint on my back. And she goes, "Where's your cousin? Where is Brenda? Where is she?" And I'm like, in between breaths, I'm telling her, "She's upstairs. The bed." And she goes, "What about the bed?" And I'm like, it lifted up in the air and it landed down on the floor. And our floors were all wooden and they're old. And one of the ends of the old cast iron bed, it had fallen so hard and banged so hard on the floor that it actually went into a wood knot. And my mother had to literally go up and retrieve my cousin and the cat. And then, I mean, after we got our breaths and Brenda was freaked out still, and afterwards we were able to tell her what happened, that bed picked up. But we used to, our dog wouldn't even go up over those stairs. We tried to take and even pick him up and carry him up over the stairs. And as we were getting to the top, he'd growl and want to get away. So we're like, yeah, okay, he doesn't even want anything to do with up there. But us kids all had to sleep upstairs in that creepy, it was almost like a huge attic. It was so weird, but the things that used to happen was just so creepy in that house, and I mean, with the voices and just, it was just really weird. So that was that. But I've had lots of experiences happen. So
Yeah, that sounds
yeah,
like
it's really cool,
place.
right?
Yeah, definitely.
Question for you. What happened to the Ouija board?
Okay, now that goes into another story. And I didn't realize any of this as a kid, but you always hear about people saying that they come back to you once you try to take and destroy them. Well, my father used to have to take and do dump runs and take our trash, and he would take our neighbor. We did have 2 neighbors up in the mountains, and he would go and get their trash because he had a big truck. So he would go make dump runs. My mother wanted it out of the house, so my dad took and flung it in the back of the truck, and off to the dump it went. And about a week later, my mother found it in our house again, the same Ouija board. My dad took it to the dump, and it came back again. It did that twice. It literally did that twice. And to this day, none of us know how that board ended up coming back in that house. And my dad said, Carol, he goes, I took that Ouija board out of the back of the truck, and he goes, I flung it down over the hill of the mountain of the trash. He goes, I flung it like a boomerang. And he goes, how that is coming back here, I'm none of us understood it. So, but he did it. He took it back the third time, and it didn't come back. No,
Did you
we
ever
don't
use
have.
the board?
Huh?
Did you ever use the Ouija board?
No, 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 no. I was young. I didn't know. I
Okay.
remember that. I remember holding it. I remember holding it and remembering what it looked like. It was really intricate. It was really. I thought it was pretty because it had like the moon and the stars, and the lettering was pretty on it, and it was just really, really pretty. It was, to me, it looked pretty. I didn't
Just
know
putting that out there. If you ever end up like acquiring it again, I will happily take it off your hands.
Yeah, I know,
Because
right?
I have a Ouija board, and I've never had any negative experiences with them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've heard some interesting stories that people have in regards to them, but I've never personally had anything happen
Yeah, me
with any
neither.
Ouija board or anything like that.
Yeah, I have one, and I haven't had any negativity or anything. And here in my home, I don't know if I was able to show the picture. I can't now because I don't have enough. Because for some reason last week I had 12,000 followers, and then I came to get on TikTok, and for some reason my whole thing was banned. I wasn't even on all day, but they took and banned my TikTok. So I just recently started a new account. So I think I'm up to like 300 and something people, and I guess you need 1,000. But I'd show you a picture that I have of a picture of a little girl ghost that I took about a year and a half ago. I was taking pictures in my living room of orbs, and this picture of this little beautiful girl spirit is kneeling down on her knees next to my coffee table, and she has her arm. You can see her arm and her dress and her hair and her face, and she's kneeling on her knees next to my coffee table like she's watching me. It is the most cutest picture of a little girl ghost I've ever seen, and it's very clear. It's a very clear picture.
You can post the actual picture itself as a video on TikTok.
I should do that. I should do
Yeah.
that. Yep. Yep. I should do that. Actually, I think I will. I think I've done it before, but I'll do it again. Yep.
Well, we
But
really
that's it
appreciate
for.
you, and those are great stories. And I'm with Drew, and I was just thinking, like, oh, I wonder if she still got that Ouija board. I might ask her if I can have it.
I know, and the thing is that those things can be, especially. I mean, I think I'm 60, and when we got into that house, I think I was 5 or 6, and I remember my mom saying that when they purchased the house, that it was almost 300 years old at that time.
Yeah, and that's actually why the attic looked like it was put together with like shipboards, is
Oh,
because
oh
the old
yeah.
houses, yeah, they would tear apart ships if they were planning to stay, and they would use the spare wood, to help build the houses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this home was like way up we were surrounded by mountains. We used to take and grow. We used to grow our own vegetables, and we used to have our own uh, cow and pig and chickens and eggs and all that. And our neighbors up the road, they were like we were kind of like hippies in a sense. And they used to have a gigantic strawberry field. We used to have apple orchards. Um, and we used to have our own private lake that we used to go down through. We made a path through the woods, and we'd go down into our own private part of the lake on the backside of the mountain. And it was just our own little heaven, our little spot of paradise. And it was so peaceful and quiet there, but beautiful. And we used to take in exchange, with our neighbors, like the bartering system. Like we get flats of strawberries, and she would like want like a side of beef or something, or whatever. And that's what we did when we were growing up. I mean, that's how we lived then. It seems weird to talk about it now, because people don't live like that anymore. But, yep.
It would be a lot nicer if they did.
I know, because it's very, very peaceful, because those were times where we would literally leave our front door open, and we'd have the screen door would be on there. And during the summer nights when it was hot, my mom would leave the front door open, and we had a little latch on our screen door, and she just latched the little latch on the screen door, and and leave it like that all night just to keep the house cool, so.
Well, we really appreciate you. Thank you so much for sharing the stories with us, and hopefully
You're
you'll hang
welcome.
around in the comments and listen to
Yeah.
some stories. We get some good ones in here, so
Yeah, I'll
thank
come
you.
back I'll come back and tell you guys some more.
Awesome. Yeah, do that for sure.
Okay. All right. Bye-bye, hon.
Thanks.
Wow, those were great stories.
Yeah, they were pretty
Yeah.
impressive.
It's funny too, because Raven in the comments was reading my mind, because I was just sitting here thinking, I want that Ouija board. I wonder if she'd sell it to me. And Raven was down there like, don't do it.
Wait,
Hey, Tully.
Hello. The way that I perceive Ouija, as somebody that does use forms of divination in their practice, I see it as no different than using the tarot cards or a pendulum or a crystal orb, or even, pyromancy, where you stare into the candle and that kind of stuff. It's all forms of divination, in my opinion, have the same outcome, just, a different modicum of doing it. So I don't see any difference between the Ouija board and anything like that.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
What's up,
What's
Tully?
up, Tully? Oh, Tully might be having some technical difficulties. Are you with us, Tully? He's with us, but he ain't with us. Oh, you keep losing audio when it connects. Let me drop you, and you come right back. Try it again. Sometimes that happens if you're in the box for a little bit or something. Come back up, and we'll see if it works this time. All right, how about now? We can hear clicking. That's weird. Are you there?
I think he's trying to communicate in Morse code.
I think so, yeah. Yeah, Cat Mama said reboot your app, and that might fix it. Let's see.
Well, darn it,
Alright.
I missed him last night.
Yeah. Guys, tap the screen. Let's get some people in here, get the stream out to everybody. Got a few people in the guest box. Let's see.
Welcome back, Spooky.
Hi.
Hey.
So I thought I would tell the story about my haunted stereo. So my dad was diagnosed with cancer in around 2009, and I was pretty young. I was taking it pretty hard, and my dad and I always had this tradition where he would take me to yard sales. He never wanted to go to the mall or anything like that. He hated people. But we made this deal that if he would take me to the mall, I would go with him to this, like, the biggest yard sale in our state. It was like, it's just going to be a bunch of old people selling old people things, so I really wasn't interested. So we go to this yard sale, and I'm having the worst time. Like, usually I have a good time because I can buy stuffed animals or whatever, but I'm just not feeling it. Until we come across this old woman, and she has, like, it looks like an entire kid's bedroom. Like, not kid, but maybe like a teenager's bedroom for sale. Like, dresser, stereos, posters, everything. And I look at this stereo, and my dad's like, "Do you want it?" And this is an extravagant gift for my dad. My dad was notoriously tight with money. That's why he liked yard sales, because he could buy something for 25 cents. But this was like $20. So I was like, heck yeah, I want it, but you're not going to buy it. And just, I think, to prove me wrong, he buys me this stereo. And this same day we go to the mall, he also buys me a puppy. The puppy is only relevant for the next part of the story. But so the stereo, I love this stupid stereo. It's huge. It has huge speakers. I'm so excited. I'm going to blast my music. I'm so excited. I live in the basement of our house. And so I go and plug it in. It works. It's one of those ones where you push the button, you hear the insides click on, and then it takes a second, and then the music comes out. So nothing happens all day with the stereo. I listen to it. Then as I go to bed, I have my new puppy in bed with me, and I fall asleep. The middle of the night, the puppy is growling, and I had never heard this puppy make a sound yet. So it terrified me, because she wasn't just growling, she was snarling in the direction where I had this stereo plugged in. And I'm like, "What are you doing? Come here, it's okay." She is beyond angry. Like, her fur is standing up, her tiny little body is shaking, she's snarling, snapping her teeth. She's beyond any rage I'd ever seen on a puppy before. And so I have to try and, I'm afraid to touch her because I know she's going to bite me. So I have to coax her into my arms. And as soon as the puppy gets into my arms, the stereo turns on. I hear the push button sound, the click, and then it's static. And it's not just on, but it's on full blast. And that's not where I left it. So it blasts me with white noise. And I'm so scared. I'm like 13. I'm so scared I can't even move to turn it off. And it echoes, it gets really silent and turns off on its own. So I get in bed, first I unplug it, and then I get in bed, hide under my blankets, and that's the end of it. But I'm afraid of the stereo now, but I don't want to admit to anybody that I'm afraid of the stereo, because I'm 13 and I've got some serious problems. But I keep it unplugged. I'm doing my homework about 2 weeks later, and it turns on again. Again, loud as it can. White noise. Blasts me. This time, in the white noise, I hear it say my name. And it says it like a soft whisper. And now, I'm frozen again in fear. I don't know what to do. But I'm about to cry because I feel like I'm schizophrenic. Like, I'm like, oh no, this is mental illness. How am I going to explain this to somebody? This can't be really happening. And it says my name again, long and drawn out whisper, and turns itself off. So the stereo and I have this weird thing now where I'm afraid of it, but I also don't want it to know that I'm afraid of it. So I still use the stereo, and sometimes when my sisters have friends over and they're down in the basement, I let them use the stereo. But one day, my sisters are having a party. I'm trying to stay out of their way because it's like a gaggle of 10-year-olds, and I'm not about it. So I'm trying to go and sneak into my room, and they're all giggling hysterically. I'm sneaking out of my room, like trying to go out of my room and upstairs. And I'm like, what is so funny? But when I come all the way upstairs, I'm upstairs for maybe 5 minutes before all of those kids are screaming. So I run downstairs thinking somebody got hurt. And I look at my door, and there's a perfect symmetrical line of pretzels right by the front of my door. So I'm like, what are you guys screaming about? What's wrong? And they tell me that they had stuffed these pretzels under my door because they were going to prank me or whatever. You know how 10-year-olds are. And when they had walked away from the door, all of the pretzels had shot out from under the door. So now these like little boys want to go in my room and talk to the ghost in there. And I let them because I think they're just, stupid. So I'm like, yeah, go ghost hunt, little kids. So they walk in my room and they're asking dumb questions like, who are you? And how many people are in the room with us? And one of them starts getting really stupid mouthy, like Zach Bagans from Ghost Adventures. And he starts calling the ghost names. Like, you're so dumb. I bet it's not even real. I bet you tricked us somehow. Da 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 da. And my stereo turns on full blast and scares the crap out of these poor little kids. One little boy pees his pants. The other two run, like, out of the house. Of course, I got in trouble because my mom said it was my fault. But the stereo absolutely terrified all of these kids. Like, it was actually chaos. Because they all heard it. It was so loud. So I have a gaggle of screaming girls in one room, a wet pant boy, 2 boys are missing, and all I did was walk in the room with these kids. So I am, like, beyond grounded. This ghost and I were not friends after this.
Oh my gosh, I could just imagine the havoc and the mutiny in the streets. It's crazy. But
It was even worse.
Yeah, it's a good one on the ghost part, though. Like, the ghost got everybody in the end.
I was like, why would you be putting pretzels under the door? And the pretzels ended up getting smashed into the carpet anyway because they were all trampled. It was a nightmare of a day. I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's pretty crazy. So what did you end up doing with the radio then?
So my sister, I ended up giving it to my littlest sister. She was the only one that wasn't like beyond terrified of it. But she ended up calling me because I moved out. I don't know, like 5 years. I had the stereo forever. But when I gave it to her, I want to say she only had it for like a month before she called me. And she's like, I am throwing away your stereo. It is the scariest thing in the world. Because she liked rap music and I liked metal. So I had all of the buttons pre-dialed to all of the metal stations. So she had went to reprogram them to all of the rap channels. And the stereo was not having it. It was not having it. It would change it to metal. She was afraid of metal. She's one of those, like, I don't even know how to describe her, like Legally Blonde type girls. She likes rap music and hip hop. So metal music scared her. So in the middle of her rap music nonsense, all of a sudden it would change to metal, screaming metal, heavy metal, all kinds of stuff. In the middle of the night, sometimes it would turn on. It absolutely tormented her. She said she ended up unplugging it and putting it in the garage, and it still played music from the garage.
Damn thing sounds possessed.
I feel like it was something like either someone was attached to it. Like my dad's theory was that the little boy, not little boy, he was like a teenage boy, the teenage boy stuff that lady was selling, like maybe he unalived himself or he died some tragic way and that was his stuff and it was his stereo. But I mean, I don't know, it was a very particular stereo and it had a lot of personality.
Yeah, it kind of sounded like you had a little bit of a ghost box effect going on too. I don't know if you're familiar with the ghost box, but maybe that was like the original, the OG ghost box.
Almost like
It's the
white.
only one I ever talked. What were you saying, Drew?
I was saying almost like white noise, like with the box she was talking about how like it'll go through the static. The voices go through the static. It's interesting.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
electronics have always been. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, you're fine. Go ahead.
Electronics have always been something that we're like, I don't know how to, like, it's just really scary for me. Like, I don't want to say I'm afraid of technology. That's not what it is. It's just I've had spooky stuff happen with technology. Like the stereo, and then when my dad finally passed away in 2011, my mom she was renting, this is super freaky. So she was living in an abandoned church that these people were renting out. She lived in like where the Sunday school would have been. And so it was like 3 rooms of cylinder blocks that were painted white. And but it was attached to the church. And the church was like super old, white, stained glass, 2 belfries. And that place was so haunted. It was the first time I ever seen a ghost was there. It was a woman in white. And you would hear chains being dragged across the cement. You would hear voices. Sometimes you would hear the organ playing in the main church, but the main church was locked and had been for years, like boarded up, locked. And then, so I had this tiny little tube TV that I would watch shows on whenever my mom was watching something I didn't want to watch. And this is like the night my dad passed away. I had let my mom cry. I hadn't cried yet. And I wasn't really accepting it. So my dad was, he's a kind of like a sarcastic kind of guy, but I was always like really reactive to the supernatural stuff that happened to me as a kid. And so both my parents told me when they passed away, they were going to haunt me. And it was always just like a joke that I grew up hearing. But when my dad finally did pass, I was laying on the floor and it was dead quiet. My mom had finally fallen asleep. And I was laying there just wondering, and my stupid tube TV turns on by itself. And it just bathes the room in like that blue glow of a TV without an antenna. And I cannot breathe. I'm so scared. But like, I don't know, I was 15, I think. And I jumped in bed with my mom for the first time since I was like 7. And my mom like sat up and she's like, "What is it? You know, it's just your dad." And she walks over and unplugs my tube TV. And then lays down with me and tries to hug me, and my stupid tube TV turned back on. Unplugged, still glowing.
Yeah, that's pretty spooky. It does sound like you've had a lot of like electronic paranormal encounters or experiences. That's pretty strange, actually.
I've always thought that.
Yeah, it's almost like there's, I don't know, like something to it, like some specific reason or something. I've never really heard of that before, so I don't know, but it's pretty neat.
Well, thank you for letting me share.
Yeah, absolutely, anytime. Matthew in the comments is like Carol Ann. Yeah, like Poltergeist. Let's see if Tully ever got situated. Hopefully it's working. Are you with us? Yes, I can hear you.
There he is.
Yeah. I don't know what was going on. I restarted the iPad though.
Yeah, just glitches. There's always glitches.
Those are some crazy stories.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm sad that Drew had left because I was gonna ask about his Ouija boards. We I think you know this, Sarah, but we collect a lot of oddities and stuff. We have I think 7 or 8 at this point. And they go through eras. Like I think it was Rochelle that was or maybe it was Rachel. I don't remember her name. So I'm sorry if you're listening. But if that was like one of the original runs, they're called Bond Ouija boards. And if it was one of the original ones, it could have been made out of the wood that Druid was talking about, but they could be worth a ton of money. So that's you could have been at least crying your way home with a pocket full of money if you wanted to get rid of it.
Well, think about it this way: since the thing was like haunted or possessed, and it comes back to you, you could just keep selling it over and
Infinite
over.
money glitch. Yep. But yeah, it kind of runs. So I think it started out with the Bond ones, and they look really weird. Like they don't look like a traditional Ouija board. If you look them up, like Bond Ouija board, and then I think after that, I can't remember the guy's name was either like Fold or Kenner. Took it over and really popularized it as a quote unquote game. And people were just getting into divination really big, throughout the early 1900s. And then Parker Brothers picked it up. Those are still worth some money too. If you get the ones from 70s and around 70s. And then of course, Hasbro eventually picked it up, and now it's a, kid's toy. But I think all the divination stuff's interesting. But I was thinking after I jumped off last night, like an Appalachian story, like a personal story that I have. When I was probably 16, I went to a friend's birthday party when I was a young man, and the whole hype around it, his birthday was around Halloween, and his dad really wanted to freak us out. And rather than taking us to like a regular haunted house that kids would go to, or like a haunted cornfield or something, he starts telling us a story about the house that's on their property. And this is in Manchester, Kentucky, on a back roads in the middle of nowhere. Tons of history in this house, though. He proceeds to tell us that the house was used throughout the 1800s as a wake house. There wasn't a funeral home in town. And it was used as like a common wake house. And there was a period where the dude that did, I don't know whether he did embalming there or, you can imagine, but he wasn't the owner, but he lived there. And people were scared to death of this guy. It was the story. And so he takes the whole group of us to this house that's on their property. And it's one of those big, white country houses that you see like at crossroads and stuff. Like all of them look pretty much the same in Appalachia. But we get in there and he takes us into the wake room and sits us all down. There's probably like 5 or 6 of us. And he starts telling the story about the guy. And granted, this place hadn't been touched. Like all of the wake stuff was still in the house. It was super old. Like the big candles that you would see like in Catholic churches were in there and stuff. And super weird feeling. But ultimately this did get me into, paranormal investigations and stuff like that. So I'm grateful for it now. But at the time it was terrifying. So he gets us in this wake house. And he tells us that nobody's allowed to stay down there because people, I guess it was pretty regular when people stayed there that they would get drug out of bed and it would just scare the living daylights out of people. So, and I'm sure that some of this was like gassed up by him trying to scare us and stuff. But one thing that was later confirmed was this part of the story that I'm about to tell you by another family member who had it was way after this because I was curious about the history after this. So the dude that lived there that everybody kind of got weird vibes from was apparently deep into the occult. And he had obviously access to a lot of people that came in and out of the wake house. And they said that this man was so evil that he could make tables walk and chairs dance. And whenever he got older, whenever he was like on his, I guess, dying days or was about to die, he told the people all around there that he didn't want to be buried to let the turtles take him, and nobody knew what he was talking about. So he passes, and in the same wake house, they have his wake. And this road with this house runs parallel to a river. And they said that the day that they had this man's wake, that people were out with brooms knocking turtles and snapping turtles off the porch of this house to keep him from getting to his body. And that has always stuck with me. And in the last year or so, I've always told Rachel the story too. I took her to the house and we just parked, and I'm like, I wish that I could get permission from somebody to do an investigation here, because it's just, the feeling is crazy in the house. But just that story, and it could just be all folklore, but usually where there's smoke, there's some kind of fire, at least.
Holy cow, that's a good one. Wow. And Chris is in the comments doing illustrations, which makes it even better.
Thanks, Chris.
I'm trying to help you out.
I thought of that one, and I thought that would be a good one, just like a local hometown kind of thing. I've got a few more, but I'll save them for another day.
Yeah, anytime you want to come up and tell one, definitely do. That one was awesome.
Yeah, I've got to sneak out into the garage, so
Yeah.
I'm on limited time, but so far it's working pretty good.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you coming up.
Yeah, no problem.
All right.
Thanks, Toli.
See you, Chris.
Bye. I love that quote, Sarah. Just when I die, just let the turtles take me. I want to make a shirt like that.
I should make a shirt of that. Would you guys buy merch if I make like some stuff? Let the turtles take me? That would be a good shirt. That would be. Hello, welcome.
Hi.
You got a spooky story for us?
Yes. I have a bunch. I'll try to narrow it down just for a few. I will start off on the bat. My family has kind of been connected this for several generations. It started with my great-grandmother, my Mama Dean. She was born with a veil over her head. And she said she could see angels, she could see ghosts and demons. And that's followed down my grandmother, my mother, and me, for generations being around spirits and stuff. I won't talk about the ones in the house because my house is still very haunted on some things, and it kind of seems to make them very active when I start talking about stories about them when I invite friends over. So I'd definitely like to talk about one time when I was very little when I visited San Antonio. Now, I don't know a lot about, if you know about, well, San Antonio is very haunted due to the mass murder that happened down there with the Alamo. And there have been several times where there's been sightings with ghosts or things happen around the Alamo. And as a kid, I was born with ADHD, and come to find out that actually does attract ghosts, is very hyperactive kids and a lot of energy. And I did have cousins who were with me and they're identical twins, and that was considered an anomaly. And that seemed just to invite them all during our trip to San Antonio. And during one time, my grandfather had slipped me about $50 to buy whatever I wanted. And during that time, there was this woman at the register, and she had taken my money from me. And my mother had a fight with her, and of course that caused me to cry. And we went the next day before we left, and I felt something weird and cold. And that woman was telling us, she's like, as soon as y'all left, she's like, things started going crazy. And they're like, because I upset her, or I was crying. And she told us that books were starting to fly off the shelves as we were leaving. And nobody would tell me this until years later, and I followed up more. Turns out the hotel we stayed at, the Riverwalk Plaza, was where they burned all the bodies. And a lot more haunted stuff was happening there. My Aunt Gina, while we were walking down a flight of stairs, she almost got pushed down the stairs. And sorry, it's been a good while since I've talked about this, and during that time there was banging and beating on the walls, doors being locked, and it was just all kind of crazy.
don't really know much about that area, but Chris, do you? Chris lives in Texas, so he might know a little something about it.
You know what? I live in Texas, but I haven't really explored. I haven't really gone to other cities. Only when I was a little kid, so I'm not really too familiar, unfortunately.
Oh, it's all good. Well, during the Alamo, a lot of people were talking about because after had everybody had died and killed, there was no bodies buried, there was nothing like that. Everything was mass burned. And a lot of people say that San Antonio is one of the most haunted places around in Texas, from what I've heard. And going back there, I still certainly believe it. Even just walking in the daytime, you can feel stuff around you. It's just, I don't know how to explain it, why it's just all left behind. I think it's just because of the way everything happened there, it's still there. Now, I go back to say the family thing is just, I don't know, for some reason, just weird occult stuff, spirit stuff has been around us my whole life. And, my grandmother, she had the worst of it. She had, I don't know how many of y'all are with the occult or with Wiccan lore, but she did have premonitional dreams. And during that time in her youth, when she had my Uncle Bubba, when he was a young boy, about 10, she had this horrible dream that he was dead, that there was dripping water somewhere and he was clutching onto a bank of sand. And, she woke up and the family was calming her down. They said they'd send him away to an uncle. Well, sure enough, they sent him out into the country with an uncle, and come to find out there was an old well there that nobody knew about. And he had walked right across that well and fell right in. He didn't die that day. It was because of that sandbank right there that he was able to clutch onto it. And so after that, it's just, my family just started leaving a lot of that stuff alone because we were worried if, something happened in our family that's attracting it more, because everybody was just kind of honestly scared about it and didn't understand it. And with me, it's followed me around since I've been a kid. I'd like to say it's the area we live in is just kind of a very big hot spot. And I'm outside, so I'll go ahead and tell the story that I have that actually has freaked me out the most. This is the first time I actually had something where I saw something physically form right in front of me. I had rescued a little baby chicken, and I had it inside of a shoebox in my house, trying to keep it warm and not exposed from the elements. And everybody up and down tells me it was sleep paralysis, but I can move during all this. Well, I get up and it's about 3 a.m, and that chicken is going insane. It's squawking, it's crying out for help, and I look down at the bed. And there's something small right in front of me. It's the size of a little kid or something, and it had red eyes. And I just remember as soon as I looked at it, I couldn't move. And it walked right in front of me and it looked at me. And I had a knife under my bed, and I was trying to get myself to move to get ready. And I don't know why, but in my head I heard my mother screaming, "Oh my God, it's in the house, it's in the house." And next thing you know, I see, you just hear footsteps, some like grown man footsteps running away. And that thing just disappears. I get up and I was 16. I'm 22 now. I ran from my mother. And she was asleep during all this, and I woke up and I told her what happened, and she never wants to talk about it because it freaks her out too. But I'll tell you, after that, for a while, I put so many crosses up in my house. I blessed the house, and I haven't had a problem since. But it seems sometimes there will be things that get moved, or I have cats, and they'll just kind of walk, and suddenly something will make them stop, and they'll just stare at a specific corner at the house. It's every time that specific corner. Yes, what the lady said in the comment, the glowing red eyes, everything around him is dark. It was almost like a shadow person, but it's like I could still see the outline, and it was a boy. Just for some reason I could tell it's the size of a boy.
Yeah, it sounds like you definitely have some strange activity going on around you. But you said it had stopped. at some point, right? So you're not really experiencing anything now, or
If I go out in areas like around cemeteries and stuff, I can feel things. But after I listen to a lot of my family members, they're Christian and some are Wiccan, and the advice they gave me I've used around my house. I've put crosses in my house. I've blessed it using sage, and so far that keeps a lot of the physical stuff from happening. But it's still the energy is still kind of negative.
yeah. We have a lot of people in here who are pretty knowledgeable about that. I don't know if you hang around in the comments. Keep an eye out for Ollie. He usually pops in. Lodge Tales knows a lot about that type of stuff. Druid was here, but he had to go. I don't know if he's coming back, but they might be able to give you some, I don't know, advice or something that might be able to help. But we appreciate you coming up, and thank you so much for sharing your stories with us.
Thank y'all very much for listening. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
It seems like does anybody know? Like, did I saw something? Did Druid say he was coming back, or?
He said he'll be back.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, guys, tap the screen, send some hearts. More hearts means more people, means more ghost stories. We got about, what do we got? I can't even count. Like 2 hours? We got 2 hours left? Hour left? I don't even know.
About an hour.
No, an hour. Okay.
Mhm.
Get some people in here to tell some spooky stories. We're on a roll tonight. We've had some scary ones. Thank you, Toli, for the heart. Hello, welcome.
Hi, how are you guys?
Good, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay right now. Living where I am now, I'm safer than I ever have been with the ghosts and stuff, so that's great. But my story is kind of a long one and it goes on forever, but I'm going to pick some of the ones that I remember the most and kind of just stick out there. And if anybody's interested in, they can go to my TikTok page about one of the pictures that I have on there about one of the stories I'm actually going to be telling. But the first one I'm going to start off with is I've seen ghosts my whole life, as long as I can remember. My mom told me that I used to call them the blue people because they come like across as like an electric blue color to me. So I'd see how they would have passed on, like if they'd done something to themselves or if they got in a car crash or passed naturally. I'd see that. It's not fun, but you get used to it. And I remember living in a house when I was younger. One of my very few memories of being young. There was a house next to ours that the guy was kind of cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. And he'd carve baby faces in rocks and throw them into our yard, which is creepy enough. But when I was helping my mom pick them up and give them back to him, we were digging and found a tombstone in our backyard. And after we found that, it started a series of things that started happening. One of the things was every night at midnight, exactly, we'd hear and feel a train, like it was passing behind the house, but it only rattle and shake our house, and it felt like it was in the attic almost. And being young at the time, that was just terrifying. And then every night, or every morning, I should say, because it was 3 a.m. in the morning, this would happen where it sounded like a young boy, I'd say no older than 8 years old. You'd hear him yelling and screaming in the basement, help me, help me, help me. And then followed by just chains rattling against the concrete floors. And that house that we used to live in was it was bad. And when we moved in 1994, I was 8. Sorry, memory. And we moved into the new house. The new house wasn't bad at first, but the guy that lived there in the area before we did, he said our side of the street used to be a dump yard, and across the street where my uncle eventually lived used to be a graveyard. It's important to know. And the house just got weird as we got older, and one of the memory that I'm going to tell. It starts a little. I'm now 26. I have a little girl, and she'd seen things. We've been through enough paranormal shenanigans in the house, and she would tell me that she keeps seeing this little girl about her age. She's 4 or 5, and her name is Emily. And Emily is pretty, but Emily's scary because she's covered in red, and she just doesn't know what's wrong with Emily. There was one day that my mom needed me, but my daughter didn't want to leave my room, so I left her my phone with her, and I went to go see what my mom needed because I was still living with my parents. I walked back in to my daughter. She goes, "Mom, I got a picture of me and Emily. I can't believe I actually did it." And I kind of gave her a weird look, as parents would. And I look at my phone, and there's only one picture of a clear face next to my daughter, and she was completely 100% alone in the bedroom. And I don't think we slept in that room for 2 weeks, but shortly after that happened, I found a necklace, like a fake diamond necklace, in the closet, and I put it back, and then I'd find it splayed throughout my room, and I'd put it back in the home, like, "Hey, you can have it, you can keep it." Eventually, my little sister, who was 22 at the time, found it and took it out of my room and showed it to my mom, and my mom wanted to keep it. I was like, "No, give it back to me. I want to put it back in the room." Well, they didn't give it back to me, and later that night, there was it was slightly bigger than a basketball, but not too much bigger than a basketball, a ball of fire in my small walk-in closet. It wasn't burning anything, but it was just hovering there, and it said that it wanted its necklace back where I found it. And I promised, okay, as soon as I have it, I'll put it back. Next morning, I took it from my mom, put it back in the hole. I was like, "It's yours." And then shortly after that, we'd hear pounding on the wall, different voices, different tones of voices coming through the wall. The door would get shut if somebody would go in there, but you couldn't open it. Door didn't lock. Never did. But the second you got stuck in there, you couldn't open the door. It was locked from one side, but not the other. The house was terrifying. I am very happy that I live where I do now. I've never had something so scary happen to me. I do still deal with paranormal stuff, just not as intense. And I choose what I deal with. And lately it's been my brother. He passed away about 4 years ago. So he's been a common visitor, which is entertaining. But those are my more recent stories, so.
Yeah, and yeah, I would say that it was tough dealing with that type of activity. I would definitely struggle with that myself. But we really appreciate you coming up. That's really fascinating, and thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah, no problem. And like I said, I have I could probably write a book with as many stories as I have dealing with it my entire life. So it's pretty interesting, and I just figured I could at least share one of my stories.
Yeah, absolutely. And hang out in the chat. And if you want to come back later on, we're here always, Sunday and Monday. So you can always come back and share some more if you think of enough one.
All right. Well, I will definitely try to pop on because I am going to be going to bed before too much longer. But I'm usually up around this time, so it's nice to get along and get connection with my fellow ghost peoples.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, you guys have a fun night.
Thanks, you too.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. It's been a good night.
Yeah, it's busy too. Yeah, I think the list is the next one. Everybody tap screen. Let's get the live out there to people, and keep the stories coming.
Hi.
Hello, welcome. Hey, you got a
Okay, so
spooky
I have
story
a
for us?
story. Yeah, so it's from when I was a little kid though. So I was around like 7 years old, and I never really believed in anything like this. Honestly, I've always been skeptical. But when I was younger, I had to live with my grandparents in their house with them for quite a while. when I moved back from my old town. And this is only, it would always happen at a specific hour, specifically 3 o'clock. I would always hear a tapping noise coming from kind of like, it's like a little cellar area. It's kind of hard to explain. I'd have to show some people. I could take a picture of it and send you. Honestly, it's creepy. But I would hear a specific tapping, and this was not normal. This was like, honestly, this sounded like a pattern tapping. It creeped me out so bad as a child, some of the things that happened in this house. But one of the creepiest things that happened, one of the few of them, was I heard my name. So this is what got me into believing there has to be another side, and it's not just us. Because I heard my name as a little girl be called out to me. And this was when I was there alone. My grandparents were they were nowhere near me. I know their voices. This was nothing like theirs. And it was clear as day. Clear as day when I was just sleeping downstairs in that area in the basement. And I struggled to talk about this, honestly, because it's haunted me for a long time, but I thought, well, this would be a good place to share.
You're doing great, by the way. How old are you though, by the way?
I'm 24.
Okay, great. Because we thought you sounded a little young, and we can't have kids on here, right, Sarah?
Yeah, you definitely sound very young. So we always have to check and make sure everybody's 18.
It's just the rules.
But yeah, it's TikTok's rules. But yeah, you're doing fine. Just take a breath and just tell us what you experienced.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't only okay. Sorry, my voice sounds. Sorry. Okay. So it wasn't just me that had these weird experiences. It was my mom whenever she'd go to sleep over my grandparents themselves. But I think they honestly just didn't believe it because they were older, up in years. They were like, oh, it's probably just me because I'm old age. No, I experienced this young, and I was so skeptical until I stayed there. For years, I didn't believe anything. But after that, I believed in so much. I cannot tell you. Even to this day, I changed my perspective on so many things. So one of the nights that I was sleeping at my grandparents' house, I was alone in my bedroom, and this is what scares me the most, is that they have a closet that lays right in front of the bed, and this closet's not easy to open. It's you have to stick your fingernails in to open it, right? And it would take a lot for somebody to just open this closet. It takes like a little bit of force to open it. I kid you not, my heart was racing at speeds that I can't even explain. When I was a little girl, this closet opened a lot by itself in the middle of the night. And I did not know whether or not to cry, scream, or just run to my grandparents and tell them, but they probably would look at me like I was crazy or something, or just like they making this stuff up, that I was hearing my voice, my name be called out by a voice. And I swear, one of those nights I seen something in that closet. And to this day, I don't want to sleep in that room specifically because I remember in good detail the face and everything. and it did not look like somebody from this time era. Like, I remember that it just, the person did not look at all like they were born from the same time. Like, she was wearing a dress. I remember that. I could see her face. It creeped me out. I never understood if it was just maybe me. I don't know, maybe I did dream it up or something. Maybe my grandparents were right, but it definitely made me upset because not only that, there were other things happening in this house, and it didn't help that this house is really, really old. um,
Do you know when it
so,
was built?
I think it was like around like 19, like 40s or some 50s, maybe 30s. I don't remember. I just know they said it was really old, and I'd have to look it up again, but I could send the
Oh,
exact pictures if you want. It's creepy.
yeah, you can send those pictures to me or Sarah after the stream.
Yeah, I can do. I'll have to look up their address again. It's on Google Maps as well. But yeah,
So, is that the only time that you had any type of paranormal experience? Because I know you said you were kind of a skeptic before that.
no. This house, this house definitely made me change my perspective. Yeah, definitely for sure. That's not the only thing that happened to me. I'm just like, it's stressful because those memories haunted me so much as a kid. Like, growing up was not normal for me. Every time I stood over there, like, I would get, I don't know if this has happened to other people, but I would get like touched at night, like, and I know nobody was there. Like, I would, or just even in the daytime, like, I would feel like somebody put their hands on me. Things would be moving around sometimes where I know that there's no way that my grandparents would have done some of these things that happened. That house just stresses me out to talk about, but
Yeah, definitely understandable. But we appreciate you sharing it with us. And if you have any other experiences there, definitely come back and let us know about it.
yeah, I'm hesitant to stay there, but I'm willing to. I know that there's still creepy stuff that's going on there, so yeah, I definitely will.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe you could get some ghost hunters to go check it out. You think anybody would go for that? Like maybe your grandparents would go for that?
Yes, I think they would, because no, they need to.
Yeah, yeah. Well, if you have any updates on it, definitely let us know, and we appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you for letting me talk.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Um, oh, Philip. Philip, you must be new here. Um, we like to let people talk here, Philip. We like to talk about the paranormal. We like to talk about what people experience because there are a lot of people come here and say, "I can't tell anybody else in the world about this, but it definitely happened to me." Um,
Yeah, and she didn't seem unhinged or anything. But and by the way, she did great. Um, she did a great job.
yeah, I think Philip can go. You can just go. It's fine.
Go
Um,
somewhere, Philip.
go somewhere else, Philip. You don't even go here. All right, I am going to grab some coffee and stuff. Chris, do you want to get the next guest?
Yes, I'll get the next guest. You go ahead. All right, hold on. Let me bring somebody up here. Okay. Hello and welcome.
Ambulance to drive by my house. I was like, maybe that's an opportunity. And I would get in my car and I would drive after it.
Oops, my bad.
You're good. You're good. What's up?
Hold on, let me. So, I didn't hear the last story, but I'm pretty sure most of my experiences are similar. Is Paranormally back? Is she?
She just went to grab something. She'll be right back, but she can hear
Just,
you.
oh, okay. I mean,
Yeah,
I could wait for her if she wants.
it's up to you. She can hear you though.
All right. So someone back then was talking about blue people, electricity people, and I think that was Stephanie.
Yeah.
So I've actually had extremely demonic encounters almost every night for 7 years. One time, that was like several years back, and it was like it was almost every night. It was like probably 5 out of 7 days I would have demonic attacks every night, and it all started because I looked into something. I looked into a lot of conspiracies, and then all of them led to thinking, wait, why is everybody worshiping Satan in Hollywood and the government? Why is everybody yeah, just doing all this human trafficking, uh stuff like that? And one night it just led me to thinking, what if all this demonic stuff is real, what about the opposite? Like, do people actually, is God real? Is any of that real? And all of a sudden, when I started realizing something like that, I started getting attacked in my sleep, and I didn't believe in demons or anything, or any angels, God, the devil, whatever. I didn't believe in anything. I was just curious. I yeah, I was just curious. Hold on, my bad. And so when I started questioning all of that, my my dreams started getting demonic. I started getting sleep paralysis, and I saw everything. I saw I saw all types of aliens, demons, or what they call jinns. That's what Stephanie actually experienced. I did research on all of them. I didn't believe in anything, but I had to research them because that it was happening to me. Like and so I had to learn how to protect myself too. Usually, I could wake myself up before they attack, and it's like I finally understand all these, like how people have alien encounters, how people have demonic encounters, how they experience things. It's all spiritual. How they astral project, how they lucid dream is very real. All of it is real. It happens to it just happens to people when they experience it, and they start to question themselves, but it's all real. What you see and feel in the demonic or dreams and in the spiritual realm, it's all real. And
Right
and
on,
it's,
man. Hell, Satan.
and so
We usually just do paranormal stories here. We don't do religious stuff.
I know it's all demon. I know
It's not. There's no such thing as demons. But
oh,
we
see,
appreciate your time. Thank you for coming
wait wait
up.
wait wait I need to finish my story though.
You don't need to finish. In fact, yeah. So one thing that I set out to do with Paranormally Correct is to divorce the paranormal from religion. So we don't do all the preaching stuff here. Sorry, not sorry. Hello, welcome.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Awesome. I just have a quick story to tell. So where we live very close to um, like a military base, and excuse me. And we've had a lot of really strange things that's happened. We have a great big patch of woods that separates us from where the military base is at. And the woods actually butts up against the end of our street. Well, at the end of the street, um, I had a friend of mine that occasionally would go on vacation and we would watch her house. Well, on the weekends, we would have, my little brother over, and we would have, maybe some cousins over. Well, this particular house faced the woods, and they have a pool there. So we would, swim occasionally up until 10 or 11 o'clock at night. And now, mind you, that this particular house that we would house sit, on the weekends, we would just go over there and swim. And one night when we were swimming until like 11 o'clock at night with all the kids, I had to run back to the house to let the dogs out. Now, there are older kids in there. My daughter was 17 years old. So I was like, cool, I'll just run to the house real quick, let the dog out, and then I would come back. And so I ran to the house, let the dogs out, and no sooner did I get to the house, all the kids were just screaming back into the house, and they were crying, and Madeline, she was really shooken up real bad. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what is going on? And they said, there is something in the woods. And I'm like, really? Maybe it was a figment of your imagination. Maybe you just saw, the trees shift or something. And she looks at me and she's like, no, there is something in the woods. Now, I shouldn't have done this, but I ran back to the house, and I'm thinking maybe there was a homeless person in the woods or something. And I was immediately afraid of the house being unlocked. So I run back over to the house, and I'm locking up the house, and I turn around, and there in the space, there's a trail that immediately goes into the woods across the street from that particular house. There are two red eyes, and it immediately took me off guard. And I'm looking into this trail, and the eyes were basically about 9 feet off the ground. And I don't even know what came over me, but I walked towards the trail. I was almost kind of a little bit paralyzed about it. And I wasn't scared. I was more curious than anything. And, like in the woods, even in the nighttime, you can tell when there's a shadow and then there's a darker shadow. Well, what I saw, I can't even believe that I actually saw something like this. But the eyes were like, I can't even, okay. So it was like the eyes were in the chest, but the shoulders were above the head, and the eyes were almond shaped, and they were red. And this thing must have been about 9-10 feet tall. And if I was going to be even describing it, it looked like it had closed wings on its back, and the wings were up above the head, and that's the reason why it looked like the eyes were in the chest. And as I'm watching this thing, it just kept walking backwards instead of walking towards, but it was walking backwards into the woods. Like it was watching me, watching the house, and watching the kids. And as soon as we all noticed it, it just slunk back through the trail. And that was the particular week when they spotted the Mothman at the Chicago airport. There was a whole bunch of sightings of this thing. So, you can look this up. Look up Mothman in Chicago airport. That was the same week that we, saw this thing in the woods. Um, you know, I I I even asked the kids, I'm like, what did you see? Did this thing try to come out of the woods? And they literally explained that they saw the exact thing that I did. They said that they were all swimming and then the woods got really quiet. And they're like, ooh, this is kind of creepy. And then they looked towards the trail and this thing was just standing there watching them. So I don't know if people have seen the same thing, but yeah, that was incredibly terrifying. And we've seen, multiple other things in the woods, but I think that was the most scariest that we've seen. So yeah, if you have any questions, I can try to answer them the best that I possibly can. But there was about 13 of us that saw that night.
Yeah, I'm actually familiar with. There was an incident in Chicago also where a bartender, I think it was, saw. He said that he saw Mothman. He stepped out to make a phone call or something, and while he was out, he had like a sighting. So I wonder if that was around the same time period. But yeah, I've heard of some sightings around there, so pretty interesting.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for letting me tell you my story. And I have lots of other ones, but, I don't want to take up too much time and I'll let other people talk. But I'll maybe pop on maybe another night.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. Cat Mama was definitely right. Everybody's all fired up after the eclipse. Listen, guys, I'm gonna just give it to you straight here. We don't do religion here for one reason, and I let a lot of people come up. I let people come up here and talk about their religious views pretty frequently. I don't agree with them, but I let them do it. But when people come up here and just start preaching, this is my platform. I don't want them up here preaching. You know what I mean? Like, there's a difference in like, oh, I have a story, I have an encounter, and it involves this. That's perfectly fine. But if you come up here and you're like saying keywords, you're saying things that's going to get the live shut down, I'm not going to deal with it. I'm sorry. I'm just not, like we've got a bunch of people waiting that have cool stories. And I don't want to hear people come up here and talk about like stuff that's going to get the live taken down primarily. You know what I mean? But yeah, no, I said hell Satan, ironically. I don't believe in Satan. There's no Satan. And somebody said something in the comments about there being like good and bad spirits. I think that there are definitely energies that are not so good and energies that are good. That's entirely possible, but it doesn't have to have anything to do with religion, But we also have a lot of atheists here, which I think is really cool. We have like atheists in a paranormal community because that's like most people would never think that that's the case. We also have a lot of people of varying faiths. So I just don't want people up here preaching. That's the only thing. Tell your story, that's fine, but don't come up and preach. You are welcome. I will always keep the zealots out. Exactly. This is our space for the paranormal. It's not their space. They have their spaces. This is our space. And that's the rules, okay? Them's the rules. What is the difference between atheist and agnostic? Well, atheist is no theism. And agnostic, gnostic means knowledge, means you don't know. Easily Googleable. Is that a word? Googleable?
It should be.
It should be a word, yeah.
What's up, Michael?
Is he connecting?
Don't think so.
Alright, he's probably timed out. I'm going to drop you, Michael. If you want to come back, feel free. We got about 30 minutes, roughly, give or take. It's not pronounceable. Yeah, exactly. Googleable. It's just hard to say it fast. Google map portals. Yeah. It did sound like he was preaching raw meat or whatever. Was it raw meat? Is that your name? Yeah, raw meat. What a name. He absolutely was. And he was also saying things that could get my live taken down. So I'm not wasting time on stuff like that when we have people who have very fascinating paranormal tales to share with us. We ain't got time for that, guys. Come on now. Ronald, that's ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, if it makes you angry, like if you came to this live expecting us to do like, we're gonna sit here and like preach and go, I'm sorry, this is not the place. This is heathen central is what I like to call it. We're all heathens here. We're supposed to be, right, Chris? We're heathens.
Yes, we are. We're naughty up in here.
We are naughty heathens, and we are proud.
We stay up past our bedtime. We put in the milk before the cereal. That's what we do.
Holy shit, Chris, that's a bridge too far.
Oh, is that just me? Sorry.
Yeah, it's just you. It's okay. Totally. I think Cat Mama might have went to sleep on us. What do you think?
Yeah. Oh, do we not have guests? I thought we had guests still.
We did. A bunch of people dropped. No, yeah, a bunch of people dropped. And I think a lot of them were like timed out. So, like that last guy, he didn't even load.
Give us your pitch for the box, Sarah.
For the box? Oh. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like everybody in the comment section is pissed off. I'm just gonna quit for the night, guys. I'm just gonna go to bed. Not really. We're gonna hang out until 2 at least and see if we get some, some crazy stories in here. Everybody better behave though. I ain't in the mood for it. Anyway, guys, tap the screen, send some hearts, unless you hate me now, in which case, I don't know, sorry. But yeah, anyway, send some hearts, get some people in here, get the stream out. We got like 200 and some people in here. What is that? 239, 240 people. You all should be able to boost the stream pretty well if everybody taps. Tap, tap, tap. If you're not tapping, you must be napping. You do sock, shoe. I mean, shoe, sock would be interesting, I feel like. But,
Holly.
Jesse, Kate. No, nobody's mad at you. Jesse, let me see. I don't see Jesse's comment. No, Jesse, nobody's mad at you. I'm not mad at any of you guys, but a bunch of you are mad at me, apparently, because I didn't want to let... Chris, you remember that movie? It came out in the 90s. The guy from Scream was in it, the little dorky guy, and he had, like, the upturned visor, and, like, he wore the jersey. Like, I don't know. That's what I kept thinking the whole time. I was like, oh, boy, here we go. Do you know the movie I'm talking about?
Which guy is it?
No, it's an old movie. You probably don't know what I'm talking about. Guest box is open, guys. If anybody wants to come up and talk about paranormal stuff. And yes, you can talk about paranormal stuff that has your religious views incorporated in it. Just don't come up here and start talking about Hollywood rings. You know what I mean? That will definitely get the live taken down. Like, we don't do conspiracy theories here. I don't even really like to say that word. Yes, Jamie Kennedy, that's the one. That's what I kept imagining. Sorry, not sorry.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about now, Chris?
Yeah. I forgot about that movie.
Yeah, you never know when people are going to come up here and say something wild. And, like, when it starts going in that direction, I start getting nervous and thinking, like, oh, God, what word or what keyword are we going to hit? It's terrifying because it could risk, everything. Our stream would get shut down. But, yeah. Got time for that.
Hey, guys.
Hello, welcome.
So I do have a story from whenever I was like 6 or 7 years old.
Real quick, before you get started, you got a little bit of background noise. I don't know if it's like a TV or something.
Yeah, it's my TV. Hold on, I can mute it. Is that better?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Do you need my age and everything?
Are you at least 18?
Yeah, I'm 31.
Alrighty, you're good.
Yeah, I'm a 90s baby. Okay, this is back when my grandmother was still alive. She's been dead for about 20 years now. Anyways, I lived in a haunted trailer with her and my grandpa and my brothers and two cousins that we all lived together. And I don't know if you ever heard of this happening before, but I saw blood come out of our walls, literally. Um, Whenever I was sitting in the living room, I'm also born gifted, so I can see them and hear them. We even had the doors would open and close. I can hear them giggling. And I lived in the bedroom where there was the demon that kept the spirits there. Um, I would always go to sleep and see their eyes watching me and everything like that. And it turns out the reason why that trailer was haunted was because a guy named Josh and his dad would drug people and kill them.
Wow.
Yeah, and I've never like came across anybody else who saw any blood come out of a haunted house before, but I wasn't the only one that saw it in my family though. It was like several of us.
We actually had a story in here last night about bleeding walls. Does anybody remember that? I think it was Spooky that told that, wasn't it?
Uh, the eyes
Do
was
you remember?
red.
I don't remember that, Sarah. Oh, I was also kind of distracted last night.
Well, yeah, that's true. You were busy. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, but
yeah, we
that's
did.
crazy, Flowers.
Oh, and I also had a haunted experience at my dad's house. I was about 5 when that happened, but it turns out a guy and his daughter was murdered in that house. I don't know what it is with my family, but down here in Southeast Texas, it's like weird. You have a bunch of houses like that with a history, but I would be scared to go to the bathroom at night because upstairs there was a demon that lived up there. And I would go to the bathroom. You know, when you're young, you have to go use the restroom a lot in your sleep. But I went to the restroom plenty of times and I would sleep in the bathroom because I was too scared to go back and cross that hallway that had the stairs that go up to the top of the house. I would even have dreams about that particular room. Like I'd be outside playing in my dream, and out of nowhere, I'll be looking up at the window in the backyard that went to that room, and I could see demon eyes staring at me, and everything around me went black. And then after that, I wake up. I had that same dream for years, and I felt like that demon was trying to call to me, and I just ignored it.
Yeah, I've lived in places before that were haunted, and I would lay in bed at night and think, like, I really need to pee, but I don't want to get up and go through the dark house to get to the bathroom, so I would just suffer for as long as I possibly could, and I absolutely hate that feeling.
Yeah, there was times when I was a kid I'd literally pee myself because I was so damn scared.
Do you want to share any others, or do you have any other stories?
Unfortunately, that's the only two that I actually experienced. That was more of a. I feel like that's the only thing that could stick to me. personally because I experienced it personally, but there's a lot of haunted places here in Texas that I can talk about, but I just wanted to share what I actually experienced myself.
Yeah, we get a ton of Texas stories. Lots of encounters in Texas. Lots of UFO activity in Texas also. And Bigfoot and Dogman and lots of cryptid stuff as well. Well, we appreciate you. Thank you for coming up and sharing that with us. And
You're
hopefully you'll
welcome.
hang
Thank
out
you
in the
for having me.
comments. And yeah, absolutely. Anytime.
Bye.
Looks like we got girl something. I need a bigger screen or glasses. Hello, welcome.
Hi.
Hello, you got
I'm somebody who has experienced a lot of sleep paralysis and stuff like that. And I moved into a different realm of where my sleep paralysis is. Like, I noticed at first that it was like really scary. And then when I kept saying, you know what, scary stuff, keep doing it to me, it kept happening. And I moved into a different realm of sleep paralysis, if that makes sense to anyone.
I've never heard of that before.
So for me, like, and I know a lot of people, like, we encounter like some sort of entity that like comes up to us and it's like scary and stuff like that. But it's happened to me so many times where I was just like, all right, do your worst. And like, there's this theory, and I think it's proven that like you can't unalive in a dream, because like none of us have ever unalived before without experiencing it real hand. So I kept telling this entity to do it. I'm like, just go ahead, get rid of me. And then my sleep paralysis started becoming like this really fun thing. So I'm just putting it out there that like, I think we can push beyond like the terror or the horror that happens. At least I have. Have any of y'all ever experienced that, where it's like we go beyond where the scary thing, where it's like, oh, it's really scary, but then it comes to a point where it's like, no, I control the scary.
I mean, yeah, for me personally, I don't really find the paranormal scary. I think it's something that needs to be investigated and learned about, but I don't really, I don't view it as scary, if that counts.
And you're saying that, hostess?
Yeah.
All right. So can we explore that? Like, how does one push beyond that? Like, I've done it, and I feel like you've done that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've had some really terrifying experiences, and then later on, because I ghost hunted for a number of years, and in the beginning, I was like quick to get scared, and then I realized it's like, well, I'm not really learning anything about these situations if I just get scared and run away. So then I kind of came to a point where I was like, I want to understand this, so I need to try to like hang around, especially when it gets intense. And after a while, I didn't really, I just kind of got used to it, I guess.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's my experience with it, in short.
Can I ask you, or like, if you don't mind answering, like when your birthday is or something?
Yeah, my birthday is, let me think. Oh, Lord, it's been so long. July 6th. I forgot for a
Oh,
second.
so you're a Cancer crab.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm
True
a
and true.
Pisces. I'm a Pisces, so I'm a water sign like you. And like, there is something about Pisces and Cancer crabs where, and I say Cancer crab because I don't like the word cancer or crab on their own. Like,
Yeah.
just one of those things where I'm like, Cancer crab. So, but like, we have intense dreams. And I feel like we also push through them. Whereas like other signs are like, oh no, I had a nightmare and I'm gonna wake up right away. You know, like so Pisces and Cancer crabs are gonna be like, no, I'll see what this dream has to offer. Like I've had like witches gnawing at my arm, you know, and I feel like, oh my god, it feels so real. And I'm waking up like at this gnawing feeling. And I'm like, what's happening? So, you and I probably have a different relationship with the celestial realm than maybe people who aren't familiar with that. Just throwing that out there,
Yeah, that makes sense.
you know. Also, you know, the sleep paralysis thing again, like at first it was like somebody crawling at me who looked like the girl from The Ring who I associated with my sister when she had long hair. But then it was like after a while I was like, no, it's a little demon skull. Oh no, it's whatever, do your, and I kept saying, do your worst. And then they would, and I was like, nope, I can move beyond this, if that makes sense to anyone out there.
I mean, I wish I could do that. I'm kind of like Scooby Doo and Shaggy when they go explore haunted houses. That's kind of how much of a chicken I am when it comes to anything scary. So,
Who's
which is
saying
funny.
that? Is that Chris?
Yeah, yeah, that's me down here.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what, Chris? Like, so, like, mentally, I don't know. And maybe it's, I don't mean to be like whatever about this, but like being a Pisces for me, I'm like, all right, give me death or give me whatever. Like, I'm just like, come on at this point. Like, just show me the facts. And there's no facts. And it's just like this whole total dreamland experience where I'm just like, okay, we got this.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's interesting though that you were able to kind of, beat it mentally. Um, because I've gone through sleep paralysis before, and I was super terrified.
And how many times have you gone through it, would you say?
Um, Maybe like a good 10 times or so. This was when I was younger though.
Okay, so you know you're experienced. I would say like 10 times is like a good enough time to be like, whoa, this has happened to me a lot. Like that's how I had felt when it happened to me when I was younger. And it was just like after, and I would say after about 10 or so times, I was like, I need to, like, I need the universe to realize that, like, I'm gonna be okay with this. Like,
Yeah. Are you there?
can I ask any of you guys this who have dealt with sleep paralysis? Like, what's the most common way to get out of it?
We might have some people in the comments who have experience with it. I've never experienced sleep paralysis personally, so I
Okay.
can't.
Sorry.
Chris, though, he has some experiences. There's a couple people chiming in the comments. Honestly, I'm kind of surprised that I've never experienced it. I hope I don't, because we get a lot of stories on here about sleep paralysis, and it sounds like really, really
Scary.
horrendous.
Yeah, it is scary, but I would say at first it's scary, but there's like, again, this like universal thing going on where it's like we all kind of see similar things. Then I don't know. Hostess, can I ask you, what about lucid dreaming? Do you have that often?
I used to back in many years ago when I was, I guess you could say, more involved in occult practices, because I've kind of, always had a curiosity about stuff like that, just to try to see, if there was anything to it. I dabbled in a lot of like that type of stuff, so like lucid dreaming, trance channeling type things, anything involving like sleep regression. I had some interesting experiences, but nothing that I would say was like, I guess I doubt my experiences, so I can't say that they're like 100%.
May I ask you what you're like what is one of the experiences that, or whether dreaming or like transcendental thing, or like what was something that like really made you feel like, oh my god, I'm like in control of this, but I'm also not?
Well, the first time I ever experienced lucid dreaming, it was completely accidental, and I was probably like 10 years old. And nobody at the time really called it lucid dreaming. At least I had never heard of that term. But when I was a kid, I had a dream about Freddy Krueger, and I remember thinking in the dream, like, oh, this is a dream, I can control it. And it was just, a hilarious childlike dream. But then in later years, when the term lucid dreaming kind of became more popular and I read about it and learned about it, I kind of tried to force it. And I had a few instances where I was able to force certain types of dreams. Not too many, but a handful of pretty decent ones. I can't recall any of them now because it's been years.
Hostess, what shall I call you?
Oh, my name is Sarah.
No way. I'm Sarah too.
Really?
Yeah. And it's just so funny that you mentioned Freddy Krueger, because I'm an 80s baby, and my mom and I would watch a bunch of those movies. And, so I was like, oh, none of that is real, until I was 10 years old and I watched The Exorcist with my mom, and I was like, oh shit. And, it scared the crap out of me. But I was already lucid dreaming before that. But anyway, I was just asking so I could address you correctly, Sarah. And but the lucid dream, so you haven't had a bunch of that since?
Honestly, from the time that I started kind of messing with my own sleep, everything changed. I don't remember my dreams anymore, and used to, I could remember my dreams consistently and in detail, but it's very rare that I remember a dream anymore, and I don't know if it's just something that comes with age or if it has anything to do with the experiences that I had, like with trying to practice astral projection and trying to practice lucid dreaming and trance channeling.
All right, Sarah, I'm following you because, I think that you and I could have some really good conversations about this, because, mine's the opposite, where it was before, when I was little, I would have night terrors, which, by definition, if I can remember, night terrors are the things where, like, I wake up screaming and crying, but, like, I have no idea why. And that's when I was little. But then now, as an older person, like, I can't take a freaking nap without having these, like, really lucid dreams where I'm just like, okay, everything's going on right here and right now. And it's just really weird. So I'm happy that I came across your live.
Yeah, definitely. And if you want, send me a message. Just send me a DM on here, and we can chat about that if you want.
I would love that. And like anybody else, who wants to say stuff. Like, I feel like I'm taking up too much space, but at the same time, thank you for letting me be in the background.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We appreciate you coming up, and hopefully I hear from you. Send me a message. All right. Very cool. Let's see, who was next? Oh my god. Who, I think it was, I always try to remember who was here first. I believe it was Queen. I'm pretty sure. I wish TikTok would put them in order. Hello, welcome.
Hi. How are you guys' night going?
It's wild, to be quite honest. It has been a wild night. How about you?
Yeah, no, I've been listening on and off, and like with all the things that everyone was experiencing, like it was just like bringing me back memories of what I had experienced from a kid all the way up until adulthood, you know? Actually, the first one is when I was about 4 or 5 years old. I was playing out in the front yard of this apartment building, and I came back inside, but I saw the shadow up along the wall, and I got really mad at it. That's all I remember, is I got mad at it. But then when I was 6 months pregnant with my first child, almost 14 years ago, it was like the same thing, but it was like a little kid. It was not a boy or a girl at the same time, but it did that, like, that creepy head shake thing that most horror movies do. That's what it did. And I just remember saying, "Oh God," because that's all I could say, because I was completely paralyzed, and it like crawled along my walls for like 10 seconds straight before it went away. And I've just had some weird stuff happening afterwards too. Same thing with my vehicles. Like after that, it's been a weird journey. And I mean, I'm almost 30 years old, but still, like, listening to all these people and having the same things that's what they had happen to, it's almost the same too with other things.
Yeah, definitely. We get a lot of stories in here that are really unique, and I often comment and say, like, "Oh, I've never heard a story like that," and then we'll get a bunch more, and it's really kind of amazing how many people are having similar experiences in the paranormal.
Well, see, I'm from Alaska, okay, but not only dealing with it in Alaska, I also dealt with it down in the Lower Freight in Kansas, or no, in Watford, North Dakota. Actually, that one was crazy. So one time I had left my house because my house before the highway was 5 minutes exactly before you got to the highway before you go into town. I remember my electronics in my car, in my van, going off all weird, saying it was just like going back and forth with like the lights and stuff, and it couldn't tell you what was going on with the car. And I stopped like 10 feet before I got to the highway. And so when I finally got the car to stop, because I couldn't stop the car in between hand, once I finally got it to stop, I called my husband and I was like, "Hey, I'm turning back around." And he was like, "What are you talking about? You've been gone for 2 hours. You should have been home by now."
So is this like a missing Tom case, you think, or?
I have no idea because I've never been in a car before that has ever happened. Same thing like in a place or a time. Same thing with anywhere that I have lived. But like my husband believes that I had traveled in some sort of time continuum thing, whatever you want to call it, or space travel, whatever. And then being gone for 2 hours before getting back into the spot where I had turned around before the highway that was still in the same street before he got onto the highway when I had called him saying that I was coming back and him saying that I was gone for 2 hours. I don't know. It's been so weird since from Alaska and North Dakota and Colorado and Kansas and everywhere else that I had lived.
So, as far as like paranormal stuff goes, when did you say or did you mention like when you very first started having encounters of like paranormal kind? Is it something you've always experienced?
I was about 4 or 5 years old with the first, like the shadow looking thing. And then when I was pregnant, 6 months pregnant with my first child, and then when I was in North Dakota with my car. So, like, I've had like 3 different things happening to me all at once. Well, not all at once, but you know, like around the same time period as when it had first originally happened in that year, or like the month, I should say. Does that make sense? Like, it was in the beginning of the year each year of those 3 different things happening. So
yeah,
I don't know if it was a coincidence.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, somebody said the other night we were having, I think it was last night, we were having a big discussion in here. I forget who it was, but someone said, you know, however you interpret it, like however it feels to you, that's probably the case. And I kind of always feel like that's, you know, pretty accurate when it comes to the paranormal. Whatever you feel is the case is probably how it is. So, it could be, you know, could be something significant or it could just be a coincidence. I guess depending on how you perceive it.
Right, because it only happened in the same part of the early in the year before spring. You know, it always happened before spring with all 3 of those events. So I always thought it was weird. Like,
Yeah,
why before
actually,
spring?
we have real quick. Ali is very well versed on this. Would you want me to bring Ali up, and he could probably give you some more insight on this because he's very knowledgeable about this type of stuff.
Sure, why not?
Okay, let me bring Ali up.
Come on down, Ali. Da, 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 da.
Do. Hey, Ali.
Hi. Hi, everyone. How are you?
Good, how about
We
you?
are, yeah.
Okay, so sorry, I was in the shower. I came back. So Queen, kind of give me the spark notes on like what's going on and how this happened.
Which one are you talking to?
Wait, there's 3 queens. Oh, you. Queen 3.
So when I was a child, about around this time of this year, when I was about 4 or 5 years old, I saw a shadow that came from underneath my door up into like a wall, and then it was the when I was 6 months pregnant with my first child, that was like a little boy but a little girl at the same time around the same year. And then around the same time this year, about like 5 6 years ago, is when my car did this weird stuff where it traveled 2 hours in time.
2 hours in time, and can you recollect it? Like, did
So the car, so from my house to the highway was exactly 5 minutes. And so in between that, my car didn't almost want to stop because the brakes didn't want to stop, type of thing. And when I finally did stop before I got to the highway, I turned around where I was on the opposite side of the roadway, like if you're coming off of the highway type of thing. I had called my husband and he asked me when I was coming back home. It's happened around the same time this year, but I don't know if it's like a pattern or something, but like it's happened around the same time around this time of year in all of those years.
And when you feel the shadows entity around you, what is the initial feeling that you get? And I'm talking about from like the outside energy that goes inside you. Is it like fear coming in? Is it like maybe, hey, watch out, kind of a voice?
Kind of that. It's more of like an electrical energy from the last two experiences. The first one I don't really remember, but the last two was definitely like an energetic feeling, like
I see. And there's nothing that really connects you to what happens at the end of these events or these episodes. Like, do you see something or someone? Do you see any kind of messages? Possibly even in your car.
Because that was actually scary because I don't remember anything.
Oh, you know what? I don't want to freak you out. I did have a friend that had this kind of similar issue. It was kind of like he was infiltrated by like a Leviathan type of spirit or something. Cause
Leviathan, what is that?
it's like a multi people personality in your heads. It's almost like schizophrenia, but the origin of schizophrenia almost impossible to, figure out. It's very rare because at some points in psychiatry and psychology, you can kind of pinpoint why someone had schizophrenia. But he told me, this is a few years ago, the same thing, like this happened to where he got a text or something like that. He got in a car, he was going to go get sandwiches, and he was just 2-3 hours out in the middle of nowhere and ended up at some strange place. And he saw a strange symbol, and instead of going inside, he just, he woke up and he just drove back home somehow. I don't want to scare you. I just wanted to figure out maybe.
I actually say that's crazy because, like, okay, so I was with my daughter at the time. She was only like 7, 8 years old at the time. So she's a big girl. She's like 13 years old and she's already over 6 foot tall. That's like she's been big ever since she was born. But she was in the front seat with me when this had happened, and I remember her freaking out when I was trying not to freak out before the car stopped. Before our van had stopped at the highway, before I turned around. And like she was there with me the entire time, and she would tell you like it felt like not even like 6 minutes at that time, not 10 minutes.
Oh, so y'all shared this episode.
The very next day, like I swear to God, I know that I sound crazy to a lot of people. Like my husband doesn't seem like I'm crazy. Same thing with my best friend since 07. The very next day when I had to drive my husband to work because he had to be there before 8 o'clock in the morning in the town at the time that we were living in. And I swear to God, this back road that we usually take to bring him to work, there was drone-like looking lights up in the sky just following us. I'm not saying it was following us, but like it it followed us into town and then they disappeared. And I have never seen them since.
Ooh, Chris, where'd you go? This seems like a, um, yeah, this doesn't seem. This seems very close to not so spiritual, possibly extraterrestrial.
That's what I'm saying. Like since I was little, like with all these things happening, I swear people think I'm crazy when I'm just like I don't want to tell anybody because only my husband and my best friend believes me with this and they don't call me crazy, but if I tell anybody else they're like, "Oh, it's just in your head."
You're not crazy, but I don't know, Sarah. I don't know if you've heard. I forgot. This was some years ago, but there was like stories. I think there was a documentary or something. There were several people who have testified to having possible interdimensional or extraterrestrial activity that has followed them for a very long period of time, as if, like, I don't know, in a more academic sense of view, like is something watching you and like having a very long study. This is like a whole, like, going on study, and maybe for them it's like whatever, like our human years are very short, but possibly it could be that that's what's going on. If it is something like, interdimensional and extraterrestrial, it's like something that is kind of like doing a long-term study on you, if it seems like that, like an observational study. um if you may. Now, that's just my opinion, and it seems similar to those old stories that I've heard when I watched those documentaries, because I feel like those people had something similar. I can't recall. But I guess if you like, just, do a little due diligence or ask our fearless leader right here, Sarah, she will probably know and recall some of these things.
Yeah, there were a lot of cases in like the 80s and 90s, especially. I don't hear about it quite as much these days, and I don't know if there's a reason for that, or maybe people just don't want to talk about it anymore. But yeah, there's been a lot of cases where people claim to have long-term UFO encounters, and that's why I said at the beginning, that it kind of sounded like missing time, and missing time is notoriously associated with extraterrestrial encounters. But is that the answer? I have no idea. But it is something to look into, I guess. See if it sounds like something that rings a bell, possibly.
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing definitive. But what you're describing to me seems like physical interference. If it's spiritual, sometimes there's some sort of connection, there's some sort of like signs, but this is something that is more. You're telling me everything that I'm hearing about people who get um interactions with extraterrestrials or interdimensional creatures with the electrical and all of this that you're telling me. um it seems like it, but I don't want to be definitive and tell you that that is the answer, as Sarah said. But honestly, this is probably where it's gearing towards. I would kind of like go on forums or kind of like seek out other people who've had those similar experiences, and have a group session and chat it out, see if you can find similarities.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I try to figure out what it was, but I'm just like, no, no, no. This is way different from what my friend's little freaky cult story comes out to be. I just don't even. This doesn't make even sense, because there's no voices in your head. There's no continuous entity activity, but it seems annual. It's like something came down.
Yeah, like what you said, annual. It's like a certain time of year, and I don't know what year that would be from since then, because that was a long time ago, you know.
Yeah, it probably it feels like I'm now just saying from a very I'm putting down all my books. It feels like from a perspective going further back, it seems like yeah, some ET wanted to observe you and then they came back for another checkup. And
You know, actually, that's crazy. So I have this certain scar on my forehead right next to my ear. And I had learned from many other people that I follow and also are friends on Facebook with. They had also the same thing too, but with multiple miscarriages, but they also had the same scar. And I'm just sitting here like thinking like, you know, because that was the whole controversy thing too of UFOs and all this other stuff, like with that was linked up to miscarriages.
yeah,
No,
this
it's
could be
not crazy
something.
about it, but you know, I'm just like, excuse me, what?
Yeah, I know. Have you ever had an ultrasound done on the area?
So I was told by the second full term pregnancy that I had before I had fully had him. They told me that I was not supposed to have any kids, and they didn't even know why I was even pregnant the second time, let alone with all the miscarriages I had beforehand and all the miscarriages after I had him. They didn't they were surprised. And so, you know, he was the miracle child besides my first one. But even with my third one, he wasn't even supposed to be about either. And so I was like, after this, like I have all these like cancers and all these other type of like heart attacks and like colon and, you know, kidney, liver, uterus, men's stuff, like lung cancers and all this other stuff that happens in my family. They told me I wasn't even supposed to have them. Long story short.
Wow. Interesting. You know, as a medical professional, I really don't come across a lot of that kind of stuff. Or at least maybe I have and not never noticed. um, but yes, it's
One child was actually an embryo underneath my heart, and I was 1 in a million case.
Interesting. Yeah, it feels like Sarah. What you think? It feels more and more interdimensional to me.
Yeah, we've had a lot of people come on and talk about, you know, abduction cases, things that they've experienced, implants, alien implants, things like that. It's insanely fascinating. I personally don't really have any, you know, I don't have any like personal anecdotes, I guess I should say. But there are tons of cases out there where people say they've experienced that type of thing. So, you know, if you Google stuff like alien abductions, implants, you may come across something that rings a bell. And, you know, could be a good starting point to kind of figure out what's going on.
And like the crazy thing is, I always find this stuff out after the fact, after it has happened to me, without even looking it up. So I don't know if that's a coincidence or not.
Yeah, I have no idea, honestly.
You're
you know, yeah, definitely. Have you ever seen any documentaries or read anything about the people who say that they've been abducted and had foreign objects in their bodies? Because it's terrifying. You know.
Yes, I have actually.
Yeah. Um,
They never really come our way. Seems like magi's are like, you know, immune to this kind of stuff. Like, why? Like, I just want to talk. But like, I just have a few questions. I'm like, what are you doing here and why? On all the planets in the world, you want to choose this one? Good luck.
And like sometimes I always agree with the people that like when aliens are passing by Earth, they have to lock their their door locks when they pass by. Like I always laugh at those, but then sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't know.
Mm. Someone's here asking for blood type. I'm not sure if that correlates.
I'm actually an O positive, so I don't know if that's a thing.
I'm not sure why aliens would want to. It's just weird to me. I feel so sorry that this happened to you. If this is the gear we're going towards, yeah. I don't like those abduction stories. It just feels very very intrusive. It's like shadow people possession stories. Like, are you kidding me? Um, like, get out of here. It's like being assaulted in a way. It just makes me sad. But they could ask. There are some crazy people out there that would volunteer for tribute. So why don't they just ask those people?
I know. I mean, I've been waiting for years for the aliens to take me. Like, they could totally take me. It's fine. I will go and stay. But they never
Right.
come.
I know, I'll participate. I just want to see what y'all doing. And if you have some cool medical instruments, I would like to bring that back. But yeah, I mean, it's something that is going beyond my knowledge and skill set. I wish I had definitive answers for you, Queen, but I just, unfortunately, this is an experience that is very rare. In my certain case, I have had a lot of experiences, and I'm going to have to actually ask. And the elders were here today. They're gonna be here tomorrow, so I'm gonna actually ask in our new moon circle as to if there is any recollection of any of us or stories have you heard in the magical people circle, if we had ever, or anyone like myself or Druid or anyone has ever felt a extraterrestrial presence. Seems like those stories are very rare. Like, they just don't ever go near those kind of people, and it could be some sort of issue. So I want to know that.
Right? No, I've been asking myself that for a very, very long time. So I just want to know if I'm crazy or not. In that aspect. Like, I know that I'm not crazy, but like, the people that don't know what I'm talking about is what I'm saying. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah, this
I
is
can
a safe
definitely
place.
relate. Yeah, it is, and definitely a lot of people here have experiences, and they always come up and say like, I can't tell anybody else about this. Nobody believes me. People think I'm crazy. We had a bunch of those tonight, and it happens, and it is hard for people to understand or believe the paranormal until you experience it. It's just something that you're never going to really be able to relate to. But I wish we had more answers for you. Maybe, hopefully, maybe we gave you something to kind of get you started a little bit.
Maybe
but
because this is the first semi-answer. Yeah. It's not a complete answer because nobody knows, but at least it starts somewhere, like you said.
yeah, we usually have a lot more regulars in here too that have some expertise on this type of stuff. But maybe come back. We're usually here Sundays and Monday nights. Maybe come back and chat with some people in the comments. And we do get alien abduction stories, so maybe you might be able to link up with some other people who have had contact. That might be more helpful than anything.
Or something that knows a lot more than any of us at this point.
Yeah, because I think, the most valuable information is probably going to come from other people with similar experiences at this point. So,
Yeah. But no, thank you for letting me join. I'm
yeah, absolutely. And we appreciate you sharing your story with us.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. And I can attest that, as a psychologist and a physician, you're really not crazy.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I can't explain what and how it happened, but I can say you're not crazy. You're whatever happened to you happened to you.
Talking about it. That's it. Like talking about it because people give me really weird looks for it.
Yeah, you're pretty much one of the rare cases that, probably been touched by something. Um yeah, I'm just sorry you got touched.
But you guys have a good night. I gotta go to bed early because I gotta wake up early.
Good night and
Thank you
rest
for
well.
coming up.
Thank you for joining me.
All right. Ollie, what is going on in your world? I know you always have some developments, and do you have commentary on the eclipse today?
For me, so I mean, we had a little early morning tea party, I would say, just with some elders, some shaman and druid and Wiccan elders, and we just basically recollected, talked about what this could mean, what our omens were meaning, and we went up on our way into our individual temples and everything, and we basically had ourselves a meditation during the eclipse. For me, pretty much I'm in Houston, South Houston, so it was a cloudy day. But you can definitely tell the clouds went a lot darker when the eclipse was happening. Personally, I felt mad because, well, I had early plans to go to Dallas, and then yesterday it was going to be storming in Dallas, and then all of a sudden it was perfect. That's Texas weather for you right there. Like, damn. So, um, yeah, but it's been, well, hey, like, as we know, computer and internet's good. Um, haven't heard really much any bad news about like major accidents or anything like that. Seems like things were a little quiet. However, personally, I felt doors opening and never really. I'm just waiting. Like I said, we're just gonna have to strap on our seatbelts and see what comes for the ride. Um, but I know if you've always wanted to hear about like cult or like witch gatherings, we actually, since there are a bunch of different people convening in Texas, we're going to have a new moon ritual tomorrow. So that's going to be fun. It's actually one of the very rare events that multiple tribes have come together to have a grand rite. And basically, I would say we were juiced up by the solar eclipse energy, and we're going to basically use that fuel for what's going to happen tomorrow. So that's going to be interesting. It's basically about renewal and big changes. But yeah, I mean, it was interesting. A lot of people had fun. Apparently, I was looking at a lot of people's messages on TikTok, and well, all those warnings about the solar flares and internet going down, probably power outages, didn't really happen.
Yeah, and I'm really glad about that. Personally, I was kind of, worried because we were talking yesterday about like some of the warnings that were out.
Yes, yes. And it just like kind of some of these stories just reminded me of actually something yesterday also reminded me what Lodge Tales was saying about Jinn. Or not, I mean, my experience with Jinn, but some spirits that mean well and some that that mean harm. But gosh, I wish Lodge Tales and Druid were here so they can hear this.
Druid was here earlier. Lodge Tales didn't join us tonight.
Yeah. Maybe I should save it. What do you think, Chris? Should I save it? Or should I give a Sparks?
Oh. Well, Lodge Tales is here, actually. Sorry.
Oh, you're here. Come on up. Okay, he was silent today. But yeah, like, I don't know. What do you guys know about the Jinn?
I actually have no idea what Jinn are. Can you tell me really quick what that is? It's a ghost, right?
Yeah, well, it's weird. Jinn are like ghosts yet physical form. So they're like almost our dimensional beings. So Jinn, according to like North African, Asian cultures, they appear different, and even Chinese culture. So Jinn are like kind of like everybody has a different opinion. It's just so weird what they are. In my personal experience, um, they're like physical and spiritual beings all into one thing. So Jinn, my first experience with Jinn was kind of like, you know, a spooky yet ended up becoming a good story one. And this is when my knowledge of them pretty much came into like existence. So Jinn are like a genie, basically. Whatever things that you hear about genies. Now, that's not always like Aladdin fun story. Genies or jinn are not really um, all the best. Even the good ones will have ulterior motives. Even there's some jinn that are in the middle. My experience happened actually in the Middle East, and it was just benign. I was a kid, and I was just visiting family at the time, and we weren't even at somewhere strange, but I was stupid, and I followed a nice lady that basically wanted to give me something. And and this is and I remember this quite well, and I've had experiences since then. But this, and I didn't know it was a jinn at that time, but the eyes were very different. They were kind of like light in a way, and they took the human form, but they weren't really human. I never really saw any feet. Jinn you can lock them in a bottle. That isn't a good thing. Why the whole myth about genie in a bottle came to be is because ancient magi's used to use puzzle boxes or certain trinkets to actually lock away dark and evil intentional jinn. Those who feed on fear, those who feed on people, like a evil leprechaun, hey, let me give you 3 little tricky wishes to gain your trust, and then they kind of like take your soul with them and they feed off of it. Which is of course a bad thing. So ancient sorcerers, wizards, aka magi's, used to trap them because they really couldn't dispose of them in a way. It's like, you can't really get rid of a demon. Yeah, like the Hat Man in a way. And so it's just like you really can't really get rid of them unless you lock them away. And if somebody happens to unlock them, well, God help you. So my experience was this lady, and this was like actually in Turkey, and it was a very busy street. So this lady showed me into a shop in a way, and I just remember going into this shop with a lot of shiny shit, and I really really wanted a gift, and they were like, the interaction was like, the face changed, like this lady turned into something, a different lady, I would say. and the face changed. Of course, hooded and cloaked. Again, like I felt like they were just floating around. Now that I remember it, they weren't really walking; they were just floating. And I think it wasn't really even a shot because I came out of there. I was actually outside of the city. So I'm gonna get to that in a minute. So what happened was she was trying to offer me something. She was like saying things that I like your light. And what is your name? I didn't answer. And she was just trying to like kind of like entice me to get more deeper into the shop. And as I remember, this little shop kept going. There's like a hallway that just kept going. Like just same repetitive thing. Like, just kept going. And I'm just like, no, I have to get back to my mom. And I think they want me to go eat. It's almost time for dinner. And she's like, kind of like blocking my way out. And she's like, no, it's good. Stay here with me. Don't you want to be my friend? And something was very sinister now. Something changed more and more. Because she was kind of like scooting in closer and closer. I started to feel unsettled at this time. And I don't know what I did, but I think I grabbed something and I threw it. I threw it towards the area, and she kind of like looked away, and she just like floated that into that direction, and then I just straight up jet like a jet. Like I don't know how fast I went, but I went out that door, and I did come out, but it was a cave when I looked back because I thought she was gonna chase me. And I saw her peeking through that curtain, and it wasn't a her anymore. It was a very dark figure, solid, had very dark colored but glowy eyes. Not one set, but like almost 3 sets of eyes. There were 6 eyeballs that I could see on a face. It kind of looked like that. Then I didn't see a cloak or anything like that. That's all I saw was just this dark, very woodsy, slimy looking figure. And that's what, was trying to come out and it was just trying to point out and like take its hand out and say, hey, come here a little bit. But then I had a shoulder tap and I turned around and there was 2 beings that were pretty much similar but opposite. I would say these were the good jinn because it was like a lady and a gentleman that were basically taking my hand. I remember taking my hand and I felt very light and comfortable. And they basically, I didn't really see, again, didn't see any legs, and I wasn't like in the desert. And I don't know how I got there, but like the city was right there. Like, how am I in this weird old cave and the city's right here? Because I thought I was in the bazaar. And so they just dragged me, like they just like took my hand, and they were being very gentle. They didn't really say much. I can feel it, what they were saying to me. Like, it's okay, just follow us and don't look back. And so I went. The feminine spirit kind of like picked me up, and I kind of looked back once, and the cave was just like, the light, whatever that was inside the cave, like the lamps, that was just dimming and going away. It like closed. And as I was being escorted or carried away, I turned back around and I'm there. Like I'm there where I'm supposed to be. And then that's what happened. After that, like they put me down. They just like pat my head or something like that. And I was around like 8 at the time, I believe, 8 or 9. No, I couldn't have been 9. I would know better for stranger danger. I was like 7 or 8. And they just tapped my head and they said, they just basically, nudged me, and I turned around and I see my family right there. Like I see them, kind of like frantic in a way, looking for me, like shot by shot. And I'm like, oh shoot, I'm in trouble. Like, I don't know how long I was gone, but like, I think I got smacked by my mom because she was freaked out really well. My dad was almost like in tears, like, oh my God, what happened? I was like, I'm okay. I was just in the lamp shop over here. And then the same figure, one of them, they were in like a white dress. Now they were in a cloak, but now they're in a white dress. They were basically making an excuse for me, saying that, hey, he is safe. He was just over here, and we knew you were, they brought him to you. My dad was looking at the guy, and he was very thankful for him. And they just like kind of like my family kind of like basically dragged me away. They're like, okay, we need to just. I wasn't able to. I didn't set foot on the ground that entire night. My dad was carrying me the entire night, all day, and I got a big lecture from my grandma. So that was my experience because I didn't know at that time, but those were jinn, with the characteristics that other people have come to be, and that was my first interaction with jinn. And that I knew that they existed. I will save a more battle story about jinn come next. I just need more energy and time to talk about this, but come next Sunday, I'm going to surprise y'all with that story.
We'll be looking forward to that. And I love that you have a jinn story because I think that's so fascinating, and we don't really get, a lot of that here. I don't know what do you think about, like, are there just certain places that just have certain types of energies attached to only the geography? Like why don't we have gins in Kentucky? You know what I mean? Like it has to just be like geographical related, right? I mean,
it sometimes can be, and originally that is the case. However, many people, ever since technology has changed, a lot of us have been traveling a lot more. A lot of us have been putting down roots a lot more in other places. So now, like, for example, like, in the 1800s, even the early 1900s, you wouldn't have a Hindu temple in the US. But now there are big Hindu temples here in the US. For example, you have big like synagogues, you have big mosques, and so a lot of things have changed accordingly. People have mixed. Tribes, even native tribes, have mixed. Ancestors are combining. So there's an old prophecy in Magi's where one day the tribes and all of magic will unite to see the same vision. The thing is, it's kind of like that physically. Now, we pretty much bring back with ourselves if we, go across the ocean and set down roots. When you set down a root and you basically start a practice or something and you consecrate it, one generation, two generation goes by, it kind of like becomes home, and it becomes like a beaconing for other things. So there are stories of jinn here in America, and they have been brought back by the most silly way. Basically, don't bring back old shit that you don't know what's inside. And they open those things or open a little box, and that's how certain things, or even a book, and that's how certain things are unleashed in different geographical areas. But yes, certain things have origins and their own home area, and just certain ley lines, they they just tether to certain energies, and that's just been the way of it. But things have changed a lot in the last century, and you will find like, hey, I mean, we never knew Bigfoot existed outside of the US, let alone there's when technology and people started to begin cryptozoology seriously. You found out stories of these ape-like creatures all over the world. So like, you got the Yeti, you got everything. So hey, all these people are having all over the world are having these kinds of experiences. There are creatures, shapeshifters in different cultures all over the world. So I guess there's similarities, views, or the energy type, I would say, is different. If one area has werewolves, another part of the world has werecats. So it could be like that. So my thing is, it's not a definitive yes. If you go to Ireland, you're only going to see leprechauns. It is a very big possibility that certain things are migrating as humans migrate, because, well, even in the spiritual world, the paranormal world, things have to change. They even have to migrate in order to exist in a higher energy field.
That makes sense. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, hope it helped.
You told us a story one time about a werecat or like a werepanther or something, didn't you?
Yes, yeah, that was in India.
Yeah, I remember that. That's been a long time ago, but I remember that. That was a really cool experience.
Yes, that was actually, and those are a lot of stories that come out of Asia and even South America like that. And over there they don't have as many wolves. Over there, their greatest and most feared animal is a big cat, whereas in Europe and North America, ours is bears or wolves. That's something that we can also correlate, that hey, geographically you're going to hear more dogmen stories coming from North America and Europe than you're going to hear from South America or even Asia or Africa. In Africa, there's actually stories of like were hyenas, to be honest. I forgot which tribe said something about that, but I'll do my due diligence and tell y'all about that. But yeah, in India, I was told by a sage a story in a temple of the moon god, why there was a curse in the area, and why these poachers and pillagers were cursed, because they burned a village, they burned sacred herbs of the temple, desecrated it. So the moon god, Chandra, actually cursed this one man who actually felt a little sympathetic. And I think the story says he was British in nature. And a smoky big cat, like I think a smoky tiger or something, came, like a spirit tiger, bit him, and that's when he turned into a like a were tiger, like a bipedal tiger-like creature, vicious and scary, and killed his comrades, backtracked any other poachers or pillagers, killed the people in the, I think what you call it, an encampment. It's very, like, I don't know what the British in the first colony used it, like when they colonized, like a fort. Fort would be a good name for it. So like a fort, it was destroyed, and he was cursed to, like, basically day and night just guard that temple and always keep it clean of enemies. And then what happened was, you could never fall in love or something like that. Like, something happened after he was done with his deeds. He was blessed by the sun god to have, like, you will still have to live forever, but he will give you one, like, one day of the month or one day of the year where you can actually become human again. And that's when, there was like a story about like the guy fell in love, and the Indian woman had a not so cursed child, and the child was basically a supernatural genealogy began basically. So at will there was another guardian. So I don't it's like a horror story, yet like a warning, be like, hey, don't go desecrating areas, because God will punish you in a way. It's kind of like that. But yeah, that was wild. And I saw those claw marks, like those 5-finger claw marks on that big tree by that temple. And that's how that story came to be. That's how we got that story. And, and that's actually, and that was actually very cool to hear, because growing up as a little horror fan, I've always ever known about werewolves. And then like you can hear, you feel like, oh, there's new stories out here. We're not the only Western culture that actually, understands shapeshifters. Older cultures, even my own culture, has shapeshifters.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And just the whole lore of it is what I really like. Just the idea that all these cultures had such similar experiences. I think that's really fascinating too.
Yeah, and I wonder who else, like what else is out there. Um, Soon I'm going to be changing my work shifts because I am tired, and I'm going into administration. So I'll have some more time, and I'm going to I'm like, let me go into the library. It's going to be a good experience to, do some of those things again and look for, different stories. I personally I know there's a story that I was told by an Aztec priest about something similar in South America, in Brazil actually, that there's like a were jaguar, like a jaguar monster out there that guards the deeper forest. There's like a part of the forest where basically people have tried to gone to like cut down trees or something like that, and it's just, well, they get ripped apart. And so it's interesting, but it's also interesting to notice that they're like guardians. And I wonder if we have misunderstood some of our own stories, like in the West, in North America and Europe, about perhaps some of these shapeshifters, or even sheep squatch or something like that. Could it be that they are like guard dogs for nature? And that's something that I would definitely want to ask Druid about, given that he practices druidry.
Yeah, that's a good point actually, because it's funny how, like with Dogman, we'll say for example, nobody really ever looks at cases with Dogman and says like what you just said, is this like a guardian or protector? But yet there are a lot of stories, some of which I've made videos about here on TikTok, where some type of dog-like creature guards a cemetery, or something like that. But most people don't look at Dogman and say, this is some type of higher being, spirit, guardian. This is a monster. It's a scary monster, and we're gonna get it. Or it's gonna get us. But yeah, it's an interesting point. Maybe we should start looking at Dogman and Squatch entirely differently as a society.
Possibly. I mean, there's recollections of native tribes, even in North America, that have said like their ancestors had interactions with like groups of Sasquatches, and so we never really know like the extent of what it is, but the bits and pieces, those are the puzzles that I think that we have in this day and age to put together and then come up for the best. And my own practices as like a magic worker is that I have learned that nothing is always what it seems. for example, like if you, I don't know if y'all have seen that movie. Which one was it? Midsummer. Where basically it's like a horror movie, yet it didn't really feel like it. Midsummer is where these people from the outside community go into this Nordic or Swedish community, and there's human sacrifice involved. But the whole aspect of it, the whole way they went about everything was quite beautiful. And I'm just like, I don't know how to feel about this. It's like, it's very different because they were giving back to the earth. They were all innocent in their practice, and they kind of made sense, which is probably why it made it so scary. But yeah, like to me, that was not a horror film. That to me, I was almost like, huh, this happened. Interesting. Seemed good
Yeah,
for
like
them.
like a spiritual journey. And that's something, that's a theme that has come up multiple times tonight, especially like when I was yelling at the Christians about an hour and a half ago and everybody in the comment section got mad at me. But I think it's about perspective, and if you can't have the space to look at things and explore ideas like the paranormal and the occult, magic, creatures, if you don't have the space to look at them objectively, then you'll never get a chance to try to come to understand it. Because if you immediately write it off as something evil and something to be feared and something to push away, then you don't ever get that chance to understand it. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I,
and
I definitely
I'm
do.
such a big proponent for like try to understand the paranormal, try to understand the occult, try to understand witchcraft and this and that and whatever. And like you don't have to be afraid of it. You can explore and you can be curious because we're curious creatures, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's important to always like try to be an explorer first and then be scared later. Like put the fear away and just be curious. So, but just my hot take on it.
No, I actually certainly agree. A lot of people, well, see, as what I've been taught as a young, from the beginning, magi's are always truth seekers. It's a never-ending journey from birth to death of knowledge. Knowledge of the past, present, if you get the future, it's a continuous line, and the humbleness that comes along with it. Hence why my interaction with so many different tribes. In the hoodoo, like being initiated into a hoodoo tribe, even a Native American tribe has, made a home for me. It's not like it's not nature in itself, but what has personally taught me of anything, like you have to know the devil to understand the devil. You need to know gods and the gods to understand the heavens. It's an ongoing studious thing, and my perspective would be, well, like when you have math and you have to do math, you got to figure out how to do it. It's just like it is what it is, and you have to learn it. And so why be afraid of it? Because it's the process of the work. You're getting a pen and your paper, and you're becoming humble about it. So even dark things, they have a story to tell you. Like some people are afraid of like demons or something like that. I would say stand still and be fearless and watch. They have a story to say. You may feel sympathetic or you may not. But hey, at least you learned something. You figured it out. And that's the biggest thing that we need to, I think, as a society, understand that even with Christian points of view, people don't know that there are Christian witches. There are literally Christian witches. There's Muslim witches, as rare as they are, i.e., myself. And then there are Jewish witches. So it's not just per se pagans, it's in every culture. And a lot of people don't realize that, yes, there's more than one perspective. No, it's not just about the, hey, it's wrong to be like LGBTQ or this or that. I'm like, who said? Because if you talk to a theologist who studies they see no like correlation towards that. There was no revelation about it, but people have interfered into it. So it depends on your interaction and depends on what you think or how you want to think about it. But the theme is a lot of people that we see here, including ourselves, we have gone through all of that and we see a similarity. And the similarity is that everybody has, who have been in secular faiths or something like that, have gotten out of it to get more perspective. And then they get perspective of their own religion, their own way, which is more beautiful than I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely agree. Well, Ollie, I appreciate you so much. It is 3 o'clock where I'm at, and I am so tired I'm going to die if I don't get off here and get to bed.
Good night.
But as always, it's always a pleasure to have you up, and hopefully we get to hear that story you mentioned next week.
Yes. I'm just like, it's late it's like 2 o'clock for me, so it's time for bed. But definitely I will, give y'all that gin battle story that I had next Sunday, I believe. Sunday night, yeah. I got nothing to do. I'll see y'all later.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. All right, guys, that is the end of the broadcast tonight. I'm sorry, I know I had some people waiting. It always gets busy after midnight. That's why I tell you guys, be here at 11, because we sit here from 11 till 12 with no guests, and then it gets crazy after midnight. So I apologize if you've been waiting and I didn't get to you tonight. Come back next week. We're here on Sunday nights and Monday nights, 11 p.m. Eastern to 2 a.m. Usually it's 3 a.m. now, but sometimes that happens. We get to talking about stuff and we run over a little bit. But I appreciate you guys for coming. Hopefully y'all are not too mad at me from earlier. I love you guys. I appreciate you all so much. I appreciate you hanging out with me here. Send Chris some love. Go buy some of his cool art. He does cool art, guys. Follow Chris and, love him. And, isn't that right, Chris?
Yes.
Yeah, he's asleep. He's Cat Mama. She just disappeared. Thank you, Cat Mama.
Yeah, she was just like, she's just like, at this.
It's been a wild night, guys. We'll be back Sunday. Be sure to follow me and turn on post notifications so that you don't miss my live streams. Go check out my videos. I do folklore videos, specifically like Appalachian Mountains. Appreciate you guys so much. Appreciate the guests. We'll see you all next week. Have a good week, everybody.
Bye, guys.